virus has completely devastated over 150 of the world's major regions and is spreading rapidly. At this point in time, we know of only one method of killing the creatures, to destroy the brain. Be on the guard of any loved ones who may have recently been in any sort of contact with the infected. And if you find yourself in a threatened position, please do not hesitate to act. Again, this is not a test. This is not a joke. We as a species are overwhelmed. We are outnumbered.
The world is broken. We are the last choking embers of a fire waiting to burn out. Long before our grandfathers and their fathers before them, we started pulling our planet apart in the name of progress and blind ambition. The greed of man has devoured this earth until there was nothing left. We watch as time eats us alive. A generation born to witness the end of the world.
Yo! Okay, we're live, guys. Sorry, I don't know if anyone was listening to the first time we did this thing. The issue was, we don't know, the mic just stopped playing and we stopped hearing our voices. And so, anyways,
technology these days.
So if anyone was listening to the first one, we apologize. But this is the second one, but the exact same thing. So this is the first one. If you haven't heard it, then just ignore it, what I just said, and keep listening to this podcast because it's going to be fucking great. First things first, let me hurry and get over our sponsors. Your Tea. Go to yourtea.com. Check it out. They have fertility. They have tiny tea. They have man tea. They have all kinds of teas to help you out, whether you're trying to get pregnant, whether you're trying to lose weight, whether you're trying to gain muscle as a man, or whatever you're trying to do. They have a detox tea. It's a great company. Awesome stuff. Follow them on Instagram, Twitter, or their website, yourtea.com. Great company. And what a brilliant product. They really managed to niche that well. So anyways, check them out. Great stuff. We like it. I drink man tea. My wife drinks tiny tea. Works. It's perfect. It's good stuff. Plus it tastes good. You put a little honey in it and it's fantastic. Second sponsor, saltcityfloatspa.com. Go to saltcityfloat.com. Check them out. They're awesome. If you've never done sensory deprivation, if you don't even know what that is, you need to check out episode... Jesus, I can't tell you. It's like 40 something, whatever. Look at it. It's saltcityfloat.com. Check them out. It's awesome, guys. Sensory deprivation is kind of where you get to sit by yourself with no distractions, no cell phones, no Facebook, no annoying boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever combos. You just sit in this salt buoyed spa. I don't know what you want to call it. And you sit there naked and you just are your brain, if that makes sense. The water temperature is the same temperature as your body. The air coming through is the exact same temperature as your body. And the buoyancy makes you kind of just float. So you're kind of feeling like you are weightless, if that makes sense. And the point of sensory deprivation is you lose your senses. You know, you have no sight because you completely close the door and it's black, it's pitch black. So you have no sight. Your eyes even try to wiggle and find weird designs in it. It's crazy, Ollie. Like you just sit in this tank and your eyes try to like make anything out. Through the entire time your brain's running like, okay, what the fuck's this? What's that? And it's nothing. And so your brain starts to, sometimes it can. I can't guarantee it for everyone.
You need drugs.
Yeah. Well, something like that. A lot of people go high. You can go completely sober and have a crazy, crazy experience too after time. But the best thing about it is like there's 800 pounds of Epsom salt, which is great for the skin anyways, and also health.
Absolutely.
And being, if you're really sick or whatever, if you put Epsom salt in your bathtub, it can kind of help you, I guess. there's some truth to it probably. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's just some awesome products. Epsom salt at least, but you jump in this thing, sit there. It's great. You float, and you kind of just... I do 90-minute sessions, so when I go in, I'm in there for 90 minutes all by myself, and...
I'm just curious, where do you go?
So, okay. So this place is in Salt Lake. We had them on the podcast, and their name is... I can't remember their exact names, but the name of the company is at least Salt City Float Spa. It's downtown Salt Lake. Well, not downtown, just kidding. But it's in Salt Lake.
Makes sense that it would be in Salt Lake.
Yeah, and there is one. Well, there used to be one in Provo, and I'll give a shout out to my friend Abel. Abel has an awesome one down in Provo. There's only one that I know of, one or maybe two tanks. One tank's down in Provo. That's they're both great to hit up either way. The same. It's not the exact same experience. I'll say that. There are different. I don't know. So there's two different pods. It's the same kind of experience in a way, but like the pods are different. One is like more circular,
mixed with different,
and you
like,
kind
materials. Or...
No, well, yeah, but like one's really bigger. It's bigger, so when you're in there, you don't bump into it because you can be there floating and sitting like this for hours, and if you touch something, then it kind of gets you out of that. You're like, oh,
okay.
Whereas in the other one's a little bit skinnier, a little smaller, and you kind of have to sit like this. You have to sit skinnier, and I almost felt like it was easier for me to get out of my float. Okay. Exactly, because I was in the zone and I'd get bumped out of it. Whereas in this other one, I feel like I'm in a giant circle pool and I'm in the middle, and that was it. Like
completely
I was in
dark by yourself.
Yeah, you're in there for 90 minutes. You have no sense of smell necessarily. I mean, there's nothing to smell. Your nose smells it, and then it's continuing. That's all you're getting. The sense of smell.
Obviously, it's pitch
Sight's
black.
Gone. Hearing, you hear nothing. Your ears are underwater, but you put earplugs in as well, so you don't get the salt deep down in your ears and stuff like that. So you plug your earplugs in. No sight, no smell, really no touch because you're kind of just sitting there. Plus, the cool thing is the water is the same temperature as your body, and the air that's humid comes the exact same temperature as your body, so you feel like a fucking conscious brain. You were just a brain. Like, you don't feel your body. You're out of your body almost because
it's awesome.
If the water's the same temperature as your body and the humid air is the same as your air, is your body temperature, then
everything's the same. Like, you feel nothing. It's
nothing.
all the same.
I mean, you will for a minute, especially your first float when you don't know what you're doing. You'll sit there for a minute like, what the hell is this? What am I doing? This is weird. Your brain's trying to make a sense of anything that's going on. But at the end of the day, what you're doing is you're sitting in a giant circle, not a hot tub. There's no bubbles or whatever. You just sit in this giant quiet pool. And the cool thing about Salt City Float Spa is they kind of do a 15-minute, like, not a hypnosis, but this, like, you can bring you can plug in your iPod if you want. If you want to learn the language, they've said that so what it does is eventually puts you in, like, it's either theta or alpha, like, sleep mode. So when you go into sleep, you have these different modes of sleep. When you're in deep, deep sleep, I can't remember exactly which one. It's either alpha or theta. Anyways, and you have a tendency that your subconscious kind of turns on in them. And like some people learn languages in these things. Like they just sit in it for hours and just kind of learn these languages. They just plug their iPod in and they have speakers through the water. Okay. So you can hear like...
So underwater you can hear it. That's awesome.
So you can hear things.
Rosetta Stone and do it.
Yeah. So if you've never done it before, I say do it quiet. First time, second time, even.
Just kind of get to know yourself.
Yeah.
Like,
and then once you kind of get in tune with it, you're like, you know what, fuck it. Let's learn. So you put on some of that, or you even put it on hypnosis and you fall asleep, or your subconscious starts to get talked to, or whatever you want to do that you're going to do. Try it out. It's an awesome, awesome thing if you've never done it. And the coolest thing is it's like a natural anxiety pill. Like you take it and for the next like 4 days, you feel amazing. Like I don't know how to explain it. Like great. You're just relaxed. You don't care the main issues you'd have. You just are so like. I remember when I was driving back, there was just crazy traffic. I was just sitting there happy, and I could see the anger, and you could see people's lines on their faces, and how mad or sad or depressed, stressed, whatever you want to call it, how crazy they were. And it just makes you sad to look at other people and be like, your life doesn't have to be that way, but you're making it that way. Yeah. And so this was the easiest way for me. Is I found that I don't know, kind of doing it, man. It was just a really cool.
That sounds really cool because anxiety is like so prominent in our society today with everyone, everyone gets at least the slightest bit anxious about something.
Sure.
And if you don't have your anxiety managed, like working with students and children that have these problems, like it becomes unbearable and unmanageable and you can't function in your day-to-day life. So,
absolutely.
And that's one of those natural ways to, help yourself instead of turning to drugs, because I feel like we're over medicated.
It's absolutely true.
Today.
And I take some cool stuff. It's called anxiety control. You can pick it up from Good Earth, and like, again, I have listeners all over the place. So find something that your Whole Foods or a Good Earth or a whatever type of holistic / natural food store that has like natural medicines or vitamins and things like that. Go find it. It's called Anxiety Control. I'm sure they have a website. Pick it up. This stuff's awesome. You just take 2 of these vitamins. They're all vitamins, natural herbs and stuff. And it allows you to, it's kind of like a neuron blocker. So the blocking of, I heard about it on a podcast once that, like this guy always wanted to be an actor and do these things, or he wanted to do large, what's it called? Like talk in front of large crowds or all these crazy things. And he had this major anxiety. He was scared. He was stressed. So he found like,
which it is scary.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so he started taking these things kind of like, it's called anxiety control, but it's like a neuron blocker. It kind of, instead of sending these sparks to your anxiety in your brain, it just kind of blocks it. And then you become like, you can still focus. You can do everything. You're not like, if you've ever taken a Xanax, you're not like,
it's
just
a
like
natural
drug.
medicine. That's
it's
what you're
all
saying.
like, it's very normal. You can still have a fluent conversation. If you're at work, you can still work. It's just the stress, you need this is, all these things completely doesn't matter for you. Yeah, it doesn't really matter anymore. So you kind of just let it go. Along with this stuff is awesome. I mean, this lasts a week, and the more often you go, the better results I'm sure you've had. I've only floated twice. But I can tell you, like, honestly, it's one of the coolest experiences if you can really get it right. And everyone can. If you go in with the right intent that I'm just here to relax and find and talk to myself, you can learn a lot.
Totally. The thing about the United States that bothers me is that we're so over-medicated and all about, like, prescribing the medications. And there's so many, like, alternative routes to go that are much healthier for everyone. And it's just about finding those and spending the time looking for those alternative routes instead of immediately going to a doctor and asking for, the medication. And
that's what I find funny. When I go to the doctor, right, and I have an issue or a problem, or maybe I'm sick, or I just need a simple like antibiotic, or maybe it's not a flu, a cold, or okay, take vitamin C, take this. What do? They always give you, you need this shot, you need this. But if a doctor is a doctor, you would think that to an extent they would know things about natural stuff, like okay, vitamin C, this would be great for you to get over this. What do? No, they give you some antibiotic. They give you this other pill. They give you a steroid shot. They give you all these other things that aren't necessarily natural. Because they fucking make money off of it.
Exactly.
And that's the biggest issue.
And also, insurance doesn't cover, like, all these natural alternative
routes. Which is the craziest thing.
And
because usually...
I hope that's the future, really.
Yeah, I agree. I think that... holy crap. Sorry, we just had a loud motorcycle car. I don't know what just fly by us, but...
It's interesting.
No, I agree. I think that the natural way is always the best way to go first. To an extent, you got cancer, you have big issues, you got to go the route that's proving the best. But hence, again, let's talk cancer. My friend, I won't say his name, he's been on the podcast before, but I won't bring him up again. Had a hard time. He was taking chemo, doing all this stuff, and he had a hard time eating, his weight, he was always puking, all these things. He turned to marijuana. Guess what? Well, he started eating a little bit more, packed on some more weight, because the doctors were giving him all these crazy pills that had a percentage of whatever THC in it, and it wasn't even working for him, so he resorted to the real deal. Sure enough, it worked. It great. It got him better. There's thousands of studies done on just medical marijuana or marijuana itself. We don't have to call it medical. The fact of it is maybe it's a natural relaxation thing. It's a fucking plant. I'm sorry, you eat a salad, that's great. There's also mushrooms, that's great.
People that have like appetite suppressants that like can't eat, sometimes they need marijuana to eat.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is it's a plant, but everyone's turning away from it.
It's the future.
It is. Look at Colorado, how much money they've already made, and also how much money's already gone to a school. I mean, that's where all the tax money is going to the school districts and all the school staff. So the teachers are getting I don't know if they're getting well paid. Maybe they're getting well. I don't know. But at least the schools are being funded. More schools are being made, and also
less crime rates from
they've dropped. They've dropped like crazy. In
Yeah.
Denver's pretty crazy too. Like I don't know if a lot of people know, but it's a huge. It's nothing like Salt Lake City. It's a huge city. It's a real deal. Denver's pretty big. Colorado has it right though, and Washington as well. But I think more of it is Colorado's. I just I go. I guess with gay marriage and it's the same thing. It's kind of like these things are the future. It's who, if it wasn't for fucking religion, who's going to stand up and say, okay, you two love each other, like you really like each other?
Yep.
Okay, you want to get married? Well, the only reason people don't get married is because religion simply says that one man can't lay with another. And that's it.
It just
and then
how somebody interpreted the Bible. This is what I think. Like, guys can be douchebags to others all the time, and they can still fucking get married. So why can't, like, two people that are of the same sex be in love and get married?
And the funny thing is, I'm sure most of the time those guys would stay together longer.
Absolutely.
And, I mean, it's just like, it's the exact same way. You know, I don't know if you've ever had a friend that you grew up with in elementary school or high school or junior, or whatever, that you knew was kind of gay from the start. Mm-hmm. You're like, you're a little different, but you're not for sure. But you're like, okay, you're gay. But you didn't hate it. You weren't bugged by it at all. And then later out, they come out there, they're gay. And you're like, oh, you're gay. Well, duh, we all knew that,
knew.
But you're born that way. And I think it's so funny how people, they come out and they say you're not gay, that you choose to be gay. That, it's so silly.
We're trained to hate. Like when you're little, you accept everyone and love everyone. I have a cousin that's gay, and when he was young, he would say, I like this boy, and we dress him up as the girl, and he loved it. And as we grew older, like that wasn't acceptable according to our parents. And also now I'm just like, you know what? That was a learned thing to like hate the way he was, but he's always been that way, and just to get over it and accept it.
Yeah, I think it's really ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a learned thing.
It's like hating a black person because they were born black.
Absolutely.
If you're born gay, you're born gay. In fact, there's also there's tons of research and stuff, and I have a lot of friends, and I work with a few that I know that secretly, I can't tell, but are gay and very, very in Mormon families and stuff, and they've always been gay. I'm like, so how long have you known you've been gay? I'm like, well, my entire life. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like, why haven't you told your family? Like, well, because they'll kick me out, that they'll hate me, that they'll
every coping
disjudge me.
mechanism has a purpose, and that's how they survive from day to day.
Yep. And so it's so sad that someone who wants to be themselves cannot be themselves. He has to pretend that he's not gay, that he has to. He can't even date guys because he's scared. He has to pretend. And in fact, I have I can't say who, but a certain friend that, he got married she to a woman, and they got married in the temple and all these things. This was like 10, 20 years ago. Gets married, has her first kid, and all of a sudden the wife started hanging out with the girlfriends more, and the girlfriends more, and then would like text the husband, oh, I'm just sleeping over. And she was lesbian the entire time, but because she was so scared to come out that she was gay, hence, they brought a kid into the world, which is fine.
Which a lot of people make the mistake of thinking, that the child is going to fix any problem that's going on. Yeah.
Exactly. And so, again, married in the temple and all these things, and she was lesbian the entire... she may not say it, but she was lesbian the entire time, was scared to come out and say it, so she played the part, da-da-da-da-da. Later on, now with another woman partner and whatever. But it's sad that someone has to fake who they are.
It is. And part of their life is, wasted. And they should, I don't know, it just sucks that we have to, put standards of how people should be and how they should act and who you should be. When really, it doesn't make you a good or a bad person if you're black or if you're lesbian or if you're gay. Like, people are people. We all have good and bad parts.
What is good and bad? That's what's so interesting. Is like we make that up. Who decides what a good person is, and what decides who is a good or a bad person? I mean, most I don't know, 40%. I don't know. I'm making the statistics up, but pretty much a large percentage of people realize other people are bad simply because of how. Like the Bible says what's good, what's bad. But the funny thing about the 10 Commandments is only 2 of them are a fucking law. So you put a 10 Commandments, like in Alabama or anywhere, if you put a statue of the 10 Commandments up, which even a commandment is thou shalt not, you don't worship other gods or false idols. Worshiping a statue, hence putting a 10 Commandments up, which is hilarious. That's even just breaking a commandment of putting
God, the only God you're supposed to worship.
Sure. So owning it, you're not supposed to. Yeah. But the number one funny thing about all of it is only 2 of them are not laws, which are thou shalt not steal and thou shalt not kill. The rest of them about don't fuck your buddies, your best friend's wife, don't work on Sundays. It's not a law. All these things. So if you put those kind of things out in front of the courts, or also if people live by it hardcore, and and they believe the Bible literally, I think it's hilarious how people say, like, if you were to ask them, well, do you believe the Bible is true? Like, every part of it. And like, oh, well, sure, yeah. So you're telling me Jonah lived in the fucking whale for how long? And also, if you believe it hardcore, then why are you not stoning the people that work on Sunday?
And
because that's a commandment.
Exactly.
If someone works on Sunday, you're supposed to stone them to death.
Totally.
If you plant 2 fucking seeds in the same field, guess what? Put them to death. That's fucking commandments. But we don't follow that part. We know that's silly. Well, the whole goddamn thing is silly.
Yeah, it is.
Like, don't say, I hate people that pick and choose. Well, okay, maybe we'll take this one.
But I will judge everyone that drinks alcohol.
Exactly.
Fuck
well, but Jesus drank fucking wine. He made wine. He split it up, and he made fish, and everyone got drunk, happy, and merry.
Like Jesus, everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Drink wine, have a good time. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna take a quick pause break for a sec. I have to pee. So we're going to play a quick song for 1 second, and then we're going to get back to this, guys.
We'll be back to this.
$1,500 another. Yeah, yo, this one's for the people. All the bees that are bleed and they sleep and they eat shit, breathe. I thought we all equal. Ain't a man on the God's green bee underneath any other. I don't wanna play preacher, but I swear they turn their ear when we talk about peace and love. Sometimes might need a hug. Yeah, we all wanna come on up above, but this ain't about Jesus. No way, no Abe, no Ike, Moses or Muhammad. Yeah, it's all about believing. Full steam ahead because you know the worst times are behind me. I don't wanna sound cheesy, but it's just to really mean it. Yeah, I'm telling, I can feel it. It's the reason I don't sleep. I'll be way too geek tonight. This one's for all of y'all. I'm the same as all of y'all. I'm on my shit. I work real hard enough for every little bit that I get, but this is all I need. So sing this song with me. It goes like, so it sound like this. Everybody start clapping hands. It's like. Slave to the bank and we only want to buy new shoes the way that we think we can do anything that we really want to put our mind to. The American dream is a pyramid scheme, and it feels out of reach when it's hard and the times are tough, but change starts with us. So yep, we all want freedom, yeah, to be who we be. I don't want to be afraid when I speak to say what I'm feeling. Yeah, together we're strong, but divided never been so weak. It's time we get even. Yeah, and really what I mean is this change, I can feel it. Yeah, Mr. President, think it's all gonna be okay. This one's for all of y'all. I'm the same as all of y'all. I'm on my shit. I work real hard enough for every little bit that I get, but this is all I need. So sing this song with me. It goes like, so it sound like this. Everybody start clapping hands. It's like. So it's not about fame and fortune. It's about believing in yourself and understanding that this life is life. It's liberty and the pursuit of happiness. And happiness isn't about getting what you want all the time. It's about loving what you have. So get ready. It's a new day.
All right, we're back, guys. Sorry, we both had to go pee.
It's a good intermission.
What were we even talking about? We were talking about gays, the Bible. Let's keep going on religion. I think it's very an interesting topic. What?
Both of us were raised Mormon or Latter-day Saint. Very strict families.
Very true.
So we were not allowed to explore anything else. We were given a strict list of like, this is how you live life. This is certain order of how you do things. You go to high school. You graduate. Seminary, which is the religion class.
It was a class, like literally. In your 8 classes you have to take per semester, one of those you have to go, and it's right next to the school, at least here in Utah, that you would walk there. Yep. Like, that's how big and prominent this religion was. I don't know how it is.
And parents would get very angry if you missed seminary. Oh, yeah. I remember my parents would be even more upset that I missed seminary than regular school, which, you know, seminary is only going to get you so far in life. It's just a religion. School is what gets you a degree, a job. That's how you make money. And so you do that, and then if you're a boy, you go on a 2-year mission. And if you're a girl, you have the option to go on a 1.5-year mission, or you immediately get married and start a family.
Yeah, and they don't even shun women that don't go on a mission. Like, that's, oh, okay. And then they expect you by 20, you know, again, I'm 23 years old. My wife's 25 years old, and we're barely having kids. And
I'm
looking
22.
Back, it's pretty crazy how young I got married. Like, I got married at 21. And looking back, like, if I saw another 21-year-old, I'm like, what in the fuck were you thinking? But for us, I don't know how to explain it. I really found the right one. I tested a lot of waters. I met a lot of women. I met a lot of girls. I had a good time.
I even asked him, I was like, what are you doing? Like, how do you know? And he's like, I just know. And I didn't question it after that.
It was the weirdest thing. I don't know how to explain it. The best way to explain it is kind of like, when you know, you'll know. And I feel bad for a lot of people that maybe don't know, because it was so quick that I'm like, I don't even want to date anymore. Like, there's no one else on this fucking planet. You know, and I can't honestly say that statistic wise, like, I've never visited Europe or I've never visited Australia, or, you know, I can't say that, but we got along so well and we had such a good time that she was my perfect partner in this life. And I think that's what's interesting about marriage or relationships is most people date because, okay, they're sexy, I'm sexy. Yes, you have to be attracted to your partner. Abso-fucking-lutely. But what a lot of people forget is your partners. In this life, if you want to call it like a game, a battle, you two
it's gonna fade eventually. Like, there has to be something more.
Sure, and you have to be growing. You have to be. I don't know. It only clicked to me only a few months ago and stuff that just attraction. It's there, and it grows, but eventually becomes what you call the regular. You are, you know, I love you, you love me, okay, but you have to look almost as you are business partners, and you're playing this game of life, if you want to call it that. So you are against everyone else, and you two have to do the best you possibly can, or be the happiest you possibly can, and you have to work against other teams or other businesses or other ideas or other trials and bullshit that comes your way, and you have to work all against it and staying happy, or being the best you possibly can, or just enjoying your fucking life. That's the whole point. And so I found someone that I like to enjoy the life with, and that we do well together, and we're good partners, and she laughs at my shit, but she knows who I am. She knows my characteristics. She knows my bullshit. She knows my funny shit. She knows, and she can put up with me and completely still love me without just, it has to be the full-on attractiveness. You have to realize you have to also be partners. You've got to fucking kill it in this life.
Absolutely.
Like, I don't know how to explain it.
Absolutely. And I'm the exact opposite. I'm 22 years old. I've yet to find the love of my life, and some of us aren't as fortunate enough to find,
it's not about fortunate. I think I just blasted through.
I mean, exactly. But some of us, we don't find the person we're supposed to spend the rest of our life with, you know, early on. It takes some time. And
if you want me to be honest, I don't believe... I don't know. Okay, again, I'm atheist, so I don't believe in God. But I don't also believe that there's one person in my entire life that, you know, whatever you want to call it,
soulmates.
Sure, yeah.
There's no such thing as a soulmate.
That this was the only one that I was supposed to be with. No, it's just that we connected so fucking well. We had such a great time, and we've always had a good time.
You didn't want anything else.
And
that's amazing.
I was completely content and happy that at 21 years old, when all the other 21-year-olds were out getting pussy and doing their thing, and which I was doing free, I'm not gonna lie. I wanted to give it all up because the coolest thing is, and I always highly say this to anyone who's looking to date or maybe settle down or whatever you want to call it, find someone who's better than you, in the sense of, like, is ahead of you in maturity wise. Where I was fucking out and about, being stupid, being dumb stuff, didn't even have a fucking job at the time. And this girl, I'm sure if her friends were like, oh, who are you dating? Does he have a job? Where does he work? I didn't have a goddamn job. I wasn't doing, she helped me find the job. But when I met her, she had a fucking job. She's going to full-time college. She lived and that was the coolest part. I loved her family. I got along so well with her family. When I went over to her house, I was like, this is what a family is. Because I didn't really, I had a family, but it was I want to call it a cult family. Mom, if you don't do anything that not the Mormon stuff, then you get yelled at, you get disciplined, you get they disapprove, they get mad, and so you have to. It was never a good relationship between me and my mom until after I got married. 6 months. I was 6 months married that we finally started to.
The thing with marriage, like, what the fuck do I know about marriage? I'm not married. Sure. I'm not dating anyone.
The fuck
seriously.
Do I know? I don't know.
Seriously. But the thing with you and your wife, Christian, is that she compliments you in areas that, like, you don't possess. She has it all. And in areas that, she doesn't, you have it as well. And you guys complement each other perfectly and are able to, have those differences and meet on the same level. And, like, you make it work. And you guys are both awesome.
Thank you. Yeah. That's the kind of thing that anyone's ever said. But it's the truth. When looking for, and that's the second thing about when looking for a real partner is you have to find
someone who complements
what you have,
and yet you are,
but the things you do not have,
morals.
They have.
Exactly.
So when you come together, okay, team A, team B, okay, when we come together, perfect. Mm-hmm. She has reality. She has understanding of money and savings and goals and future, and she also has real world scenarios of what really is real.
Awesome.
And she has all this shit. And I have, let me take you out of the real world. Let's have fun when you're super stressed. Let me take you and show you, hey, all those goals you want to make and you want to get an A in anatomy and all this shit. Like, let me tell you, you can do it. Let me be the positive motivation and let me be the creativity and get you out of the real world.
Like, the mutual morals that you have to have in order to connect with someone. That most people do have on the same level.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And that's all you have to do. You have to find everyone. Don't find someone who's similar like you, and maybe you can, and that's awesome. Have similar interests. That's fine. You like hiking? Find another hiker. You two go together? Perfect. But also find people that have other interests and other type of shit. Mm-hmm. So when you meet together, you're both exactly like even don't maybe you like the same bands, but she has, like my wife, she loves The Used. I've never listened to one Used song in my entire life. I don't know who they are. I don't know. She's obsessed with it. Me, yeah, still. I've never listened to it. I never. But she always tries to play it in the car, and I feel like, okay, maybe we will, maybe we won't. But, like, I just have never been into that. But, like, but we connect on Blink-182. We both love Blink-182, but we have separate interests in, like, I like Parkway Drive and hardcore, and she likes more The Used and and I like My Chemical Romance too. So anyways, you find all these things that you have similar stuff in, but you mix it up. You have some flips and like, oh, okay. It's not just music, but just in life and theories. How she was raised was completely different than how I was raised. When we started dating, I was out of the church, if you want to call it that. I was never planning on going on a mission to an extent. And then I started talking to her, and what was it? I was telling my mom at the time, because she kept bugging me. At the time, I was like 19. She's like, you're going to go on a mission? You're going to talk to the bishop? So I did all these things to please her, but never to please myself. And so Mikkel was like, well, here's the deal. Either you're going on a mission and we're not dating, or you can date me and we can see where life goes. Mm-hmm. And then always in my head, of course, of the cult mind, I was like, okay, well, we'll just get married. We'll get married outside the church, and then later on we'll get married in the temple, because that's what the church says. And we were having sex and stuff like that.
And sex is like the second worst sin, like murder, and then there's sex.
I think they're almost even.
Ridiculous.
If you remember the Book of Mormon, they were talking about like premarital sex is just like committing murder.
Pro-life and creating life and ending life. Those are the two worst sins. Yeah.
Perfect together.
You do what you want, that information.
Yeah. But it's very interesting, all of that stuff. So anyways, she's just like that. And she was, her mom was Mormon. Her dad was not necessarily Mormon. And just, so it was really interesting to go over there. In fact, the mom's the one who really sparked my mind into looking into the church history and to learning about the church stuff and Joseph Smith's real life and reading the journals of Joseph Smith and Emma Smith and all these things that I learned later on about the historical facts. Hence, again, facts that I actually read it made a lot of sense to me, and that's when I decided, and my wife and I, to leave the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
About the Mormon Church, LDS Church, is that there are, the writings that you're not supposed to look up that are anti-Mormon, but it's like, that's another version of someone's story of what happened, and people, they're just told, like, you can't look up anti-Mormon things, and it's like, why not? Like, why can't I just look at it? And it's like, because that that's a truth of, like, who Joseph Smith was and things that he did, and they're just told not to look at it because it's such a terrible sin, and they'll turn you against it because they're afraid, once you see different paradigms of reality that you won't believe in anymore.
No, it's very true.
It is.
And the thing with the church is it's dying left and right. They may claim they have 13 million members, but actively I think they have under 4 million members. The rest of those...
I'm probably in the 13 million active members just because I haven't done... Like, I haven't been through all that shit. Which I want to, I'll be honest. And yet I just haven't made time for it. But
that's fine.
It's...
Well, the funny thing is now, so when I left the church, you send a quick email simply saying, I, Christian Stevens, wanted to leave the Church of Jesus Christ, Latter-day Saints, yada, yada, yada. I want my names removed from the church records, yada, yada, yada. Anyways, boom, sent it. Easter Day, I remember I got it on Easter, and it sent back just simply saying, okay, your records are being removed from the Church of Christ, yada, yada, yada. Then I got then the bishop came and knocked on Mikkel's door when I was living with Mikkel.
Panic.
Knocked on the door.
Panic button.
Yeah, he came to knock, and he's like, oh, is there a Christian Stevens here? And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's me. And he hands me this pamphlet that pretty much just said, just know that by leaving the Church of Jesus Christ, that all these, you're going to go to hell, and everything is gone. It's devoted. You're gone. No more priesthood. Like that ever worked for me, anyways. I mean, all these things that they promised, they said, that pretty much just a great scare tactic for those who were pretty iffy. But everyone who's going that far to get their name removed already knows it's all bullshit.
Exactly. And they're just ready to live their life. The best quote I ever heard was, religion is for people that are going to hell, and spirituality is for people that have already been through hell. And I couldn't agree with that more. Like, I've gone to multiple AA and NA meetings. And
did you know that by bringing up well, keep going. So you've been to multiple meetings and all these things, and you've been through hell.
They're the most accepting, like, kind, supportive people I've ever met, versus people in religion that, you wear flip-flops to church, they're like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah,
like,
you wear jeans. You wore ever jeans to that shirt with a nice dress shirt? Yeah. That's what it is.
It's bullshit.
Did not know about Ross.
Yeah, and it's seriously, Ross for last money. Yeah. But the thing is with like NA and AA meetings, everyone has been
What's
through
NA?
Narcotics Anonymous. Okay. Yeah, like
so is it
people
the same
who've done
thing,
like heavy drugs, like meth, heroin, things like that. I didn't go personally for myself. I went for a class addiction recovery that I took.
Sure.
But people there are so supportive of one another, and they talk openly and freely about the experiences that they've been through, and just, people are there to support them, and they've been through the same shit, so they don't judge you, and they don't act like they're better than you, versus like in any religion you go to, everyone has like this fake mask on. They can't talk about what's going on in their families.
Of course not, because then they look lower in the thing. Well,
to others.
Well, my dad gets me. Like, I remember going to church, or at least Sunday morning, right? I remember dreading every goddamn Sunday because... I mean, me and Josh, my little brother, would fake sick all the time. We would even eat granola bars and pretend to throw up to get out of fucking church. Because simply, my parents would wake up and just... like, I remember my dad screaming, get the fuck up. Literally, get the fuck up. We're going to church. We're going to fucking church.
We didn't say fucking.
And that's the funny thing is, if I were to ever say it, and I remember being like 12, 13 when they would say that shit. Like, get the fuck up. We're going to church. Stop faking sick. You're not sick. Go to church. I mean, I remember, and
it's a disease.
What a fucking 3 goddamn hours to learn the same shit that you already learned when you were fucking 3 in primary about the same. It's the same shit. And you know what? It's all still Looney Tunes to me.
And testimony meeting, which is where, everybody in the ward
I used to stand up and do that shit because I was that fucking brainwashed. I remember getting up and saying, but it's the exact same thing.
It is.
Well, I stand here to bear my testimony. I know the charge is true. I know that Joseph Smith was the true fucking prophet. Whatever. It's just brainwashing after brainwashing after brainwashing. Yep. And again, we're only talking about Mormonism because we can consider ourselves expert. We've experienced it. We've been with it. We've done it. We know it. And we've tried it.
17 years.
Yeah. And that's...
I just won't make my children, if I ever have children, I just won't make them learn that. Like, they can go out in the world and decide what they want for themselves, you know.
Here's the cool thing.
Who they want to be.
So now that I have my kid on the way, I've been reading this awesome... I know. Yeah. So little Riker, he's born in November. And we, at least I, and Mikkel and I are both atheists. And we've been reading this really interesting book called Parenting Beyond Belief. Hence... parenting on atheism, but not teaching your kid to become atheist. You let him do all the talking. You let him do all the thinking. It's this. Well, your child simply asks, you start to go to school or preschool and someone says, oh, well, Jesus or this or that or Joseph Smith or, whatever. And he comes home and asks these questions.
He's going to grow up in Utah.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's going to happen.
So he's going to come home and ask about, well, Dad, so-and-so, Johnny from school said that there's a man named Jesus up in heaven and things like that. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to simply ask him, well, what do you think? Do you think there is a Jesus up in the clouds and stuff? And I'll let him answer it. If he thinks so, that's great. He's imaginary. I remember my imagination.
I wish I had the choice to choose.
Sure. But that's the thing is I want to let him, instead of telling him, duh, that's fucking silly. Are you kidding me? There's no Jesus up in heaven and this and that. And it's going to be like, well, what do you think? Do you think there's a man literally living up in the clouds and he makes everything okay? I only know this because I have a coworker that is atheist and his wife is currently Mormon. But his son came to him one day and simply said that, is there a Jesus up in the clouds? And he's like, he just simply, instead of saying, no, there isn't, he just said, well, what do you think? And he goes, nah, that's too silly. The little kid, and he's 4 years old, and he goes, nah, no way. And he's like, you're right, okay. So, but he went on in life, in this thing. And then one night, he's atheist, but one night his mother-in-law, the Mormon side, mother and father-in-law made him say the prayer. And one night they're like, say the prayer. So anyways, he came back over here and he was about to go to bed. And he, as the dad's turning off the lights, he's like, Dad, can we say prayer? And he's like, okay. So the atheist dad sat down with his kid and he said his prayer. He's like, please bless, we can have more graham crackers. He's just saying all these funny things, but nothing about like Jesus and stuff like that. But he was just saying all these funny things. He's like, okay, amen. But he didn't make a big deal of it. Didn't make a big shock because I think if you do that, then it's more detrimental to the kid, or he picks up more that like, this isn't a good or this isn't technically a bad thing. It's just more, let your kid be a free thinker. Let your kid, well, do you think, when your kid comes to the age of Santa Claus,
teach us how to think.
Do you think there is Santa Claus? Well, is there really a guy that flies all over and drop, here's the deal. So our book came up in that part. Before reading the book, was all about, let's not introduce Santa Claus to our kid, because I feel like maybe later in life he'll feel that Christian and mom and dad lied to him, and then maybe he won't trust us on other things. And then my wife was like, well, but Christmas was such a cool thing, being a kid, and you're looking forward to Santa. And so anyways, we start reading the book, and simply it says, do if you want to, go ahead and do it. If you want to do it, that's fine, because at some age they're going to come up, and then if you start teaching rational thinking, just asking them, well, what do you think? At some point it's going to be like, there's no way, no.
And that's the most important thing, like teaching people not what to think, but how to think. And that's something that did not happen in my, childhood or even until I reached college, that I was like, no, I need to question everything, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
And that's the way it should be.
So I can't wait to raise my kid. I don't want to say raise my kid, but just have those weird conversations, the little things with my little kid. I don't know. I remember some certain things with my dad, and the sad thing is the only reason, hence still today, or that I look back and I'm like, I didn't have the best relationship with my parents, is only because Mormonism / religion came into play. And the only things we ever talked about, all these things were because of that. I could never go to my parents. I thought I was masturbating. My dad always told me when I was a young fucking kid, I was like 11 or 10. My dad, 11 or 10, I didn't know what the hell was even going on. In fact, I didn't even know until I was like a junior in high school. He said, don't ever play with yourself. And that's all he said. He would never go into detail, nothing. He would just say, don't play with yourself. So I'm like, what do you mean? And I never understood what that meant. As a kid, I'm 10, 11, 12, and I'm sitting there, I'm in the shower, and I thought literally taking a bar of soap and washing my balls and my dick, that I was masturbating. I thought that I was playing with myself, touching myself in any sort, because he never went into detail telling me, well, don't masturbate. But really, at the end of the day, why not masturbate? I mean, I understand, like, Mormonism, never do that. I get it, but he never told me why, so I literally thought I was a bad kid since the age of 9 and 10, because I washed my private parts.
I would have never gone, like, as far down the path of, you know, being a rebel or anything like that if my parents had talked to me about this stuff. There are so many, like, the college that I go to now is very open-minded and very liberal. It's called Prescott College. Everyone will look it up. You might love it or you might not, whatever. But they're, you know, my professors, they teach their children, you know, their children can talk to them about anything. They can talk about whatever. And that's how, if I ever decide to have children, how I want to raise them. Like, you will be able to talk to me about, like, if you want to do, you know, shrooms, ecstasy, cocaine, like, we'll be able to talk about it. And, you know, by talking about it, it'll open that portal and it won't make it
Let me tell you the pros and the cons.
Absolutely.
Instead of, hence, cocaine is actually a cocoa plant. It's a plant, it's a leaf, it's all these things. I've never done cocaine.
America introduced it and then called it illegal, and a lot of people were addicted to it by the end of time. Sure. Like, by the time it was illegal.
Sure.
And by opening
Coca-Cola
up those
had Coke in it.
Exactly. And by opening up those conversations, you know, your kids don't feel like it's such a forbidden thing, and they can talk to you about it, and they don't have to feel alone if they decide to do it, and chances are they probably fucking won't.
Because if you give them the full advice and tell them, well, here's what I, you know, and learn from me. My dad, I remember I was probably like 8 or 9, and me and Josh were both in my garage, and Josh, my little brother, by the way, and we're sitting there in the garage, and I don't know how the topic came up or whatever, but this was the first day I ever learned that my dad smoked pot. And I didn't know what pot was back then. I thought it was like, I was thinking meth, crack, the spoon, you know, I didn't know. I was probably like, honestly, 7 or 8 years old. And I don't know how the even topic came up. I think I just asked my dad simply, Dad, have you ever done drugs? And I was like 7 or 8. And he's like, well, yeah. But the story he told me was this. No fucking lie. I still remember this. I was sitting there by the freezer, and I asked him as we were hopping in the van, I'm like, Dad, have you ever done drugs? And he's like, well, yeah, kinda. And I'm like, well, what was it? Why? And he goes, well, it was called pot. And I'm thinking, of course, as a kid, I'm imagining this pot or something with a lighter, or, you know, the worst thing, not knowing marijuana, a plant that you're smoking out of a joint, or it will. And he tells me that, and I'm like, okay. And then he goes, well, I'm like, well, why'd you do it then? And he's like, well, I made a deal with my friend. And my dad lived in like rural Colorado in the middle of fucking nowhere. My parents, my grandparents were all over the place. I don't know what the deal was exactly with them. But he goes, I made a deal with my friend that he's like, if you take a smoke or a puff of this marijuana or this pot, then I'll come to church with you. That's what my dad literally said to me. So that's when my dad did it. He said he smoked pot because this guy was going to go to church with my dad. And I said, well, Dad, did he end up going? He said,
it was justified.
Yeah. It's in the name of God. Well, and then I asked my dad, did the guy ever go to church? And he goes, no, he never came to church. I'm like, cool, Dad. Like, cool. And then looking back at my dad's prom pictures and all these things, oh, he was a pothead. Like, you look back at it and you're like, oh, okay. Oh, you were a pothead. And the funniest thing about it all is my dad / my grandparents were converts to the church. They were Baptist, whatever. And then one day missionaries came by, and my grandpa, I love him to death, and I highly doubt any family are listening. I hope. But the deal is, my grandpa,
Cam, Carly.
Yeah. He went to Vietnam. Was absolutely nuts. Came back, or at least came back nuts. My dad still says to this day, the last time I ever met my dad was when he left for Vietnam. When he came back from Vietnam, my grandpa went nuts. Super aliens, UFO, Sasquatch. He met one of the 3 Nephites. Like that intense, that crazy. Weird. He leaves me voicemails. In fact, I'll hurry and check. Make sure I don't have any. But he leaves me voicemails simply saying that the world is going to end, and that the red dragon is coming, and you better watch out because it's coming out soon, and I'll see you on the other side of heaven, buddy, if you don't make it. Like, crazy. Okay, I don't have any.
Did you ever get your patriarchal blessing?
Yes, it made no sense.
A patriarchal blessing is something that, like, some designated priest in the Mormon or LDS church sets their hand on their head and kind of, like, tells your future of what's going to happen, you know, what blessings you will or will not receive.
If you stay according to the church gospel, this is what's promised to you.
After reading my best friend's sister's patriarchal blessing and my sister's, I'm sorry if you didn't want me to read it, I read it anyways because it was on your desk. Apology, whatever, you can get mad at me, it's fine. But they're all so general and like pretty much the same that everything they say they can slightly twist. It's like horoscopes. Like they're so general and broad, exactly, that it's like
it's like reading a fortune cookie.
Exactly.
A friend will come into contact. A friend will come into contact with me?
Yes.
What? Like, a friend may need your help soon. Oh, no, you're fucking shitting me.
If you live this way, you'll be safe. Oh. You'll find a man that you'll spend the rest of your life with. And it's like...
Just kidding, I'm lesbian. You know,
like, yeah.
No. I remember mine. It said, you'll speak in tongues. I can't learn a goddamn language. I mean, I'm so ADD. It's like, you'll be able to speak in tongues and you'll do all this stuff. And it also said that I'll die before the first coming of Jesus Christ. So my entire life living in this cult mindset, I literally thought I was going to die at a young fucking age. So I didn't want to get major relationships. I was terrified thinking, I'm going to die.
Mine said I was born in the millennial generation. That's what our generation is called. Like, you know, like how they have the years like the X generation.
But what year were you born,
The baby boomers. 92.
Yeah, that's not millennial.
I'm pretty sure I'm the, like, X generation.
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, you're the millennial generation. You'll be here when the Savior comes. And I'm like...
You mean Horus?
Like what the fuck are you talking about?
No, going back.
And they said I had the gift of music. I'm like, I played piano, and that is all I ever want to play because I love being outside. That's all I want to do is just be outside and adventure all the time.
Yep.
Like there's nothing else for me. I promise.
It's some hilarious stuff.
Yeah.
All that fortune telling stuff. In fact, a great show that I'll have to start sending you some links, Holly, through Facebook. It's called Penn and Teller Bullshit. And all they do is they go on horoscopes, right? Mm-hmm. Horoscopes and how horoscopes are bullshit. They prove how they're wrong, they're whatever. Then they go into like organic food, how this banana and this banana, which one's the organic food? Well, you know, they do all these bottled water tests. They do tests on that and how bottled water is bullshit. They do tests on, like, so I have a Ouija board. I thought it was cool, it was great, all this stuff. I watched Penn and Teller Bullshit. It's fucking fake as fuck.
Okay.
It's a cardboard.
Here's my Ouija board story.
Okay.
Me and my
best
legit? Friend.
Well, let's hear it.
Let's hear it. Okay, me and my best friend, we bought a Ouija board from Target because they sell those there.
Yep.
So children friendly, everyone.
It didn't back in the day. Now they only sell them at Toys R Us. But you found yours,
which is even worse. But it was a Target. We climbed on top of a fucking mortuary in St. George, Utah, and played the Ouija board there. Nothing happened ever, and still to this day, like I'm not haunted or anything like that. Like it's all in your mind, and I feel like the only way you can like let Satan in is if you're on drugs or asking for that type of shit.
Well, even then, I don't believe in Satan.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't even believe in Jesus. I'll be honest.
He's not. I mean, if you Satan, I know Satan's listening. I think I blew. Hopefully, I blew his mind. Satan, sorry, not Satan. Satan is a guy I work with, and today we watched Zeitgeist for the first time, and I think it blew his fucking mind. Zeitgeist is it's like a 4 or 5 part documentary, but one part is specifically about religion and hence the story behind Jesus Christ. In fact, I'll hurry and play it for a minute here because a lot of people have never heard it, and I hope a lot of listeners will listen right now. But Zeitgeist blew my fucking mind about the story behind Jesus Christ. It explains the true story behind Jesus Christ. And
you can play it right now?
I'm going to play it.
Perfect.
Real quick. It's quick. I'll stop it at some point, but we'll keep listening to it. So anyways, I'm going to move the mic. Listen.
This is the sun. As far back as 10,000 BC, history is abundant with carvings and writings reflecting people's respect and adoration for this object. And it is simple to understand why, as every morning the sun would rise, bringing vision, warmth, and security, saving man from the cold, blind, predator-filled darkness of night. Without it, the cultures understood the crops would not grow and life on the planet would not survive. These realities made the sun the most adored object of all time. Likewise, they were also very aware of the stars. The tracking of the stars allowed them to recognize and anticipate events which occurred over long periods of time, such as eclipses and full moons. They in turn cataloged celestial groups into what we know today as constellations. This is the cross of the zodiac, one of the oldest conceptual images in human history. It reflects the sun as it figuratively passes through the 12 major constellations over the course of a year. It also reflects the 12 months of the year, the 4 seasons, and the solstices and equinoxes. The term zodiac relates to the fact that constellations were anthropomorphized, or personified, as figures or animals. In other words, the early civilizations did not just follow the sun and stars, they personified them with elaborate myths involving their movements and relationships. The sun, with its life-giving and saving qualities, was personified as a representative of the unseen creator or God. God's Son, the light of the world, the savior of humankind. Likewise, the 12 constellations represented places of travel for God's Son, and were identified by names, usually representing elements of nature that happened during that period of time. For example...
Hold on, guys. Hold on just a second. I'm going to figure this out. Get it going.
Damn technology.
Right.
Likewise, the 12 constellations represented places of travel for God's Son, and were identified by names, usually representing elements of nature that happened during that period of time. For example, Aquarius, the water bearer, who brings the spring rains. This is Horus.
Oh, Jesus. Hold on. We're going to let this buffer for one... We're going to let this buffer for 1 second, guys. You guys got to listen to this, if I can get it right. What? I don't know why it would stop. Let me see, guys. Hold on.
He is the sun, anthropomorphized, and his life is a series of allegorical myths involving the sun's movement in the sky. From the ancient hieroglyphics in Egypt, we know much about this solar messiah. For instance, Horus, being the sun or the light, had an enemy known as Set, and Set was the personification of the darkness or night.
What is going on? You guys, I'm so sorry. Hold on. I'm going to... you have to listen to this. I know, right? The deal is you got to still listen to it. I'm just going to find the Horus part. Skip ahead. Okay. Okay, hold on. Here we go. Hopefully.
He is the sun, anthropomorphized, and his life is a series of allegorical myths involving the sun's movement in the sky. From the ancient hieroglyphics in Egypt, we know much about this solar messiah. For instance, Horus, being the sun or the light, had an enemy known as Set, and Set was the personification of the darkness or night. And, metaphorically speaking, every morning Horus would win the battle against Set, while in the evening Set would conquer Horus and send him into the underworld. It is important to note that dark versus light, or good versus evil, is one of the most ubiquitous mythological dualities ever known, and is still expressed on many levels to this day. Broadly speaking, the story of Horus is as follows. Horus was born on December 25th of the Virgin Isis Mary. His birth was accompanied by a star in the east, and upon his birth he was adored by 3 kings. At the age of 12, he was a prodigal child teacher, and at the age of 30, he was baptized by a figure known as Anup, and thus began his ministry. Horus had 12 disciples he traveled about with, performing miracles such as healing the sick and walking on water. Horus was known by many gestural names such as the Truth, the Light, God's Anointed Son, the Good Shepherd, the Lamb of God, and many others. After being betrayed by Typhon, Horus was crucified, buried for 3 days, and thus resurrected. These attributes of Horus, whether original or not, seem to permeate many cultures of the world, for many other gods are found to have the same general mythological structure. Attis of Phrygia, born of the Virgin Nana on December 25th, crucified, placed in a tomb, and after 3 days was resurrected. Krishna of India, born of the Virgin Devaki, with a star in the east signaling his coming. He performed miracles with his disciples, and upon his death was resurrected.
Oh, totally, absolutely. The Holy Christian.
Dionysius of Greece, born of a virgin on December 25th, was a traveling teacher who performed miracles such as turning water into wine. He was referred to as the King of Kings, God's only begotten Son, the Alpha and Omega, and many others. And upon his death, he was resurrected. Mithra of Persia, born of a virgin on December 25th, he had 12 disciples and performed miracles, and upon his death was buried for 3 days and thus resurrected. He was also referred to as the Truth, the Light, and many others. Interestingly, the sacred day of worship of Mithra was Sunday. The fact of the matter is, there are numerous saviors from different periods from all over the world which subscribe to these general characteristics. The question remains, why these attributes? Why the virgin birth on December 25th? Why dead for 3 days in the inevitable resurrection? Why 12 disciples or followers? To find out, let's examine the most recent of the solar messiahs. Jesus Christ was born of the Virgin Mary on December 25th in Bethlehem. His birth was announced by a star in the east, which 3 kings or magi followed to locate and adorn the new Savior. He was a child teacher at 12. At the age of 30, he was baptized by John the Baptist, and thus began his ministry. Jesus had 12 disciples, which he traveled about with, performing miracles such as healing the sick, walking on water, raising the dead. He was also known as the King of Kings, the Son of God, the Light of the World, the Alpha and Omega, the Lamb of God, and many, many others. After being betrayed by his disciple Judas and sold for 30 pieces of silver, he was crucified, placed in a tomb, and after 3 days was resurrected and ascended into heaven. First of all, the birth sequence is completely astrological. The star in the east is Sirius, the brightest star in the night sky, which, on December 24th, aligns with the 3 brightest stars in Orion's belt. These 3 bright stars in Orion's belt are called today what they were called in ancient times, the 3 kings. And the 3 kings and the brightest star, Sirius, all point to the place of the sunrise on December 25th. This is why the 3 kings follow the star in the east, in order to locate the sunrise, the birth of the sun. The Virgin Mary is the constellation Virgo, also known as Virgo the Virgin. Virgo in Latin means virgin. Virgo is also referred to as the house of bread, and the representation of Virgo is a virgin holding a sheaf of wheat. This house of bread and its symbol of wheat represents August and September, the time of harvest. In turn, Bethlehem, in fact, literally translates to house of bread. Bethlehem is thus a reference to the constellation Virgo, a place in the sky, not on earth. There is another very interesting phenomenon that occurs around December 25th, or the winter solstice. From the summer solstice to the winter solstice, the days become shorter and colder. And from the perspective of the northern hemisphere, the sun appears to move south and get smaller and more scarce. The shortening of the days and the expiration of the crops when approaching the winter solstice symbolized the process of death to the ancients. It was the death of the sun.
It is.
And by December 22nd, the sun's demise was fully realized. For the sun, having moved south continually for 6 months, makes it to its lowest point in the sky. Here a curious thing occurs. The sun stops moving south, at least perceivably, for 3 days. And during this 3-day pause, the sun resides in the vicinity of the Southern Cross, or Crux, constellation. And after this time, on December 25th, the sun moves 1 degree, this time north, foreshadowing longer days, warmth, and spring. And thus it was said, the sun died on the cross, was dead for 3 days, only to be resurrected or born again. This is why Jesus and numerous other sun gods share the crucifixion, 3-day death, and resurrection concept. It is the sun's transition period before it shifts its direction back into the northern hemisphere, bringing spring and thus salvation. However, they did not celebrate the resurrection of the sun until the spring equinox, or Easter. This is because at the spring equinox, the sun officially overpowers the evil darkness, as daytime thereafter becomes longer in duration than the night, and the revitalizing conditions of spring emerge. Now, probably the most obvious of all the astrological symbolism around Jesus regards the 12 disciples. They are simply the 12 constellations of the zodiac, which Jesus, being the sun, travels about with. In fact, the number 12 is replete throughout the Bible. Coming back to the cross of the zodiac, the figurative life of the sun, this was not just an artistic expression or tool to track the sun's movement. It was also a pagan spiritual symbol, the shorthand of which looked like this. This is not a symbol of Christianity. It is a pagan adaptation of the cross of the zodiac.
Anyways, let's see. I'll pause it real quick. Pretty much, hold on while we set this up, you guys. Pretty much that's it. Of that sort. I mean, it goes a lot longer. It goes into also why.
It's just a different perspective, like somebody else's perspective.
Sure, but it makes so much sense because, I mean, you look into... Jesus was a cop-out. It was another knockoff. Horus was already thousands of years before Jesus Christ's story ever was told. Mm-hmm. And what these guys did is just, let's switch up some names, throw a couple new characters, this Joseph guy, Mary, the Virgin, and yada, yada, yada. But the same goddamn story. And you can look throughout history. When I first saw this video, I didn't take it for what it was. I was like, I got to do a little more research to make sure I have my stuff in a row.
Which
and
absolutely, ask questions. Ask questions,
exactly.
Everyone.
Question everything.
Exactly.
Because then you'll learn. And that's what's so funny about, like, science compared to, like, religion. Religion's all faith. We gotta have faith that it's true.
Don't question. It's bad.
But look
bad
into the church. If again, if you're in this church, you have to find out. You should look into it. They always tell you study the scripture, study this, but never study outside. It's kind of like politics. If you're in politics, say you're a Republican or you're pro-Obama or something like that. If you never look at the other side of why people are so mad at Obama, then how can you ever come to a conclusion of, well, okay, I see their point.
In debate, you have to look at the other person's side and acknowledge it and say, yeah, that's absolutely valid, and here's, my side.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just, and that's why I don't fight with a lot of people. Like back in the day when I first kind of left Mormonism / just religion and anything, I kind of just I always wanted to fight or argue with people, but at some point I realized these people, it's like fighting when they're talking to a wall because they don't know the stuff that I've learned.
With a drunk person.
So trying to tell them these stories or these ideas, or hence that Jesus was also Horus and Mithra and all these other people. He doesn't know that, so to him it's never going to be true. It's not true until he studies and does his own research.
And the thing with Mormons is they think their way is the right way, and it's just
no one else.
It's
can have
not
it right,
realistic.
possibly.
Like you look at all other cultures, all different types of people, and like there's no way that every single person on this planet is going to be able to convert to Mormonism and have it be realistic and work for them.
Well, the funny thing about religion is it really depends on where you're born. Is what religion you end up becoming. Mm-hmm. If you're born in Utah, 90%. 90%, I'm glad I'm in the 10%, but will become Mormons. And then if you go to India, most likely you're going to be Hindu. If you're born in China or in Asian countries, you're going to be Buddhist. You are going to be Islamic if you're born in Iraq, Afghanistan, Saudi Arabia. If you are in Italy, you're going to be Roman Catholic.
With all those religion, there's so much tension, and they argue all the time and have all these fights and world
over
wars.
Who is so right and who's so wrong. I mean, that's what really, Israel's all shit over.
Do what fucking makes you happy. That's what I say. Like, I've never been happier living the way I live now.
It's so true. It's so true because, I never have to worry about...
Exactly. And my family, we've never been able to communicate better than we do now. I have a better relationship with my parents, with my sisters, and everyone now that I'm just who I am, and it's all out on the table, and... Like, you live the way you want to live. I understand it makes you happy, and I am the way I am, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. No, I've never been happier in my entire life just being myself, because consciously I know that there is no hell, that I'll never go burn in hell because I'm happy, because I'm doing my stuff, because I'm having a few shots, because I am, I had sex before, hence a marriage thing. I did a lot of research. I learned about myself. I learned about the world, I learned where we're from. It blows me away that people still actually fucking believe that we're from Adam and Eve. Yep. That these two people lived in a garden, and if you're a Mormon in Missouri, Utah, or in Missouri, in the United States, that you're in this perfect garden, and this snake came up to you and said, hey, don't eat this apple. And what does she do? She eats the apple, and then, boom, you got kicked out by God, and we're all from two people. And it doesn't make sense. So where did black people come from? If we had all these if Adam and Eve were white, and we're in this perfect garden and everything, where did African American people come from? They make the black
people the Lamanites, the ones that were bad.
Sure. Oh, they were cursed.
And I've talked to people like my black friends down in Prescott, and people of color that are from Prescott, and they're like, that's fucked up that they made us the evil ones.
There's still... It's hilarious, too, because there's still... The church is so funny. If we're talking about... let's just talk about LDS Church real quick. In the 1970s, pre-whatever, you could be a black African-American member of the church, and you could do everything except for ever hold the priesthood. Yeah. All white, all Asian, all Tongan, whatever. But if you were African-American or were African, you could never hold the priesthood because you were cursed with the thing until the government came in and said, you're actually pretty fucking racist.
Fucked up.
We're going to actually take away, because what religions are is they get free tax-free, pretty much a tax-free ride saying, hey, you don't have to pay taxes because you're a religion. Well, they're like, you guys are a racist community. You guys are outdoing, you're saying that black people can't have the same rights as these whites, Asians, whatever. And they're like, oh, just, you know what? Oh, yeah, God, it's coming in.
And said, wait, hold up. He called the prophet last night and said it's
exactly.
Okay.
It's the funniest thing. That's the exact thing that happened. The funny thing I learned about, too, the other day... Well, go on.
Well, the thing is, it's going to happen with homosexuals, too.
Yep,
they won't accept the gays, but give it a year, like a year to 5 years, maybe, and homosexuals are going to be fine.
Yep. Yeah.
And the thing with growing up like Mormon as a girl is girls have always been, suppressed throughout the time.
No, it's true.
American history, and it's not that way anymore. Like, I don't feel suppressed at all. I've never been raised that way, but in the Mormon religion, it kind of is that way. Like, women cannot have the priesthood, and the men frame it as like, oh, well, we get to hold the priesthood, and you guys get, like, the ultimate power of being the women at home. And it's like, well, why the fuck can I not choose to have the priesthood if I don't want to? It shouldn't be that way. Like, I can do whatever the fuck I want to do.
Oh, well, because Jesus and the apostles had... Well, we just learned that Jesus isn't quite real. In fact, there's no historical record. Think about this. Exactly. We know tons about Egyptians. We know tons about Tutankhamun. We know tons about pharaohs and stuff in Egypt, or King Arthur. Or we know, I know that's a little earlier, but if we go further back, we know tons about certain historical event, individuals. But yet, here's this supposedly Jesus guy that did all kinds of crazy miracles. I mean, magic tricks, some Chris Angel shit.
Touch his robes.
Yeah, and leprosy. But no one in history has ever written about him. No one. I mean, there are, and they've all been proven false or fake. Or they say Christ, and that just means the Savior. And that it was taken from a lot of people. Christ or Christo means Savior, or the Anointed One, which could be, you can put that towards anyone. And there's only like 4 or 5 or 6 really things of that, and then one of them was completely false that they proved wrong for hundreds of years. And so I think it's so interesting that if a Chris Angel type guy was out there doing the stuff and real stuff, really curing some, if someone today was out there curing AIDS and he was perfect, he was walking on water and he was doing all kinds of crazy shit and whatever, everyone would be recording on their phone. They'd be writing about it. There would be records of it. 2,000 years from now, people would know who this fucking Chris Angel guy was.
Yep.
Because he was curing some crazy stuff. He cured HIV and AIDS and leprosy and polio and but no one throughout history wrote it except for the people who wrote this Bible. Which also, again, the guy lived in a whale, for 12 days, Jonah, and then there's also...
And if Jesus could walk on water, he's a fucking show-off, let's be honest.
Yeah, asshole.
Yeah.
Trying to show off.
What the fuck did that prove?
Cool. And how do we know he wasn't just walking on a pond? Exactly. They never say, they say the Sea of Galilee, but how do you know it wasn't a bunch of sand?
Exactly.
And maybe walk meant another word.
Times
who
have
knows?
changed.
Exactly.
Nobody knows exactly
it's very
what it was
interesting.
back in the
And
day.
here's the fact of it. None of it makes sense. None of it. If you're not going to live it literally, if you're not going to kill your next door neighbor because he's mowing his lawn on Sunday and he's working, if you're not going to, kill the guy in your ward who cheated on his wife, then it's like swimming in a swimming pool, right? So, okay, we believe 80% of the Bible to be true. A lot of it, it's parables. It's like swimming in a swimming pool with 20% shit in it. So when a kid diarrheaed all in it, and you're still jumping in it, well, at least 80% of it's clean. Well, just stay away from the shit. But you're still swimming. It's like a sandwich, If you saw someone, you go to Burger King and you see him wipe his ass and literally have shit on his fingernails and then hand you his fucking cheeseburger, are you going to eat it? Like, are you going to full on eat it? Do you like it that much? Do you want it? Because even if it's 1% shit, are you going to eat it?
God will punish him, right? Like,
yeah,
God
of course.
will punish him. It's not me. I'll be fine because I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, but God will punish him.
Of course.
That's
it's everyone's cult mindset. It's just so sad.
It really is.
That if you live your entire life that way.
And I look at it from like a psychology standpoint.
Absolutely.
Like, there are parts of self. Everybody has good parts of themselves and everybody has bad parts of themselves. And it's learning it's just learning about you and, what makes area.
Absolutely.
Just overall.
Yeah. No, it's kind of like karma, It's a funny thing because, we're kind of bred to believe this thing since we're kids or people bring it up or teenagers or whatever you first hear about karma. It's essentially doing to others as they would do unto you. And pretty much if you do something bad, eventually something bad's going to happen back to you. Well, here's the funny thing. That's going to happen no matter what. Bad fucking days happen. You could be the greatest person in the world, and someone could still cut you off. Someone could crash in your car and leave the scene of the accident, and you get fucked because you don't have their insurance and you're fucked. Things are gonna happen no matter what. Or you could have done a bad thing. Maybe you could have ran a red light, lied to a cop, something, and you knew you lied and you had guilt in you. 6-7 years later, then you end up getting a ticket because you sped. Oh, it's probably because of that one time I lied to the cop. Yeah. Like, you make these own karma and this bullshit up for you. But it's a silly, silly disease. When people say, well, I wouldn't do that because I'm a Christian. It's kind of... When you say that, or you say, oh, I'm religious, I'm a Mormon. I'm sorry, if I were a cop, and this happens all the time. Apparently when cops pull people over here in Utah, they'll hand them their license and their temple recommend. If I was a cop and you hand me a temple recommend, I will mark that down as you're trying to solicit to a cop a bribe, and I will give you a goddamn felony. If you ever try to pretend
that are in the police force, let them know.
Yeah,
you fucking know they would.
Yeah, it's just it's a joke. You're giving me a temple recommend. You're for sure getting a ticket now. Don't you ever think that's going to ever get you off? That doesn't mean you're a good person. That means that you're a sucker. You bought into the MLM thinking you're going to get blessings in this afterlife. Which is
a sad way to live, to think that just because you live your life now a certain way, like they're missing out on so much.
It makes you suffer now. Because you're like, well, we suffer now and we'll get it later.
Not doing it right, but we'll do it in the next life. What if there is no fucking next life? Or what if you come back again as somebody else?
No one's ever came back, and like how Bill Maher kind of says it, he's like, no one's ever came back from heaven and put a Yelp review up and said like, yeah, it wasn't what everyone said. It wasn't like this giant celestial kingdom of shit. But like, no one's ever gone on to, died and came back and gave this giant review of, just kidding, they lied to us, guys. It's the easiest product to sell in the world. It's no way to prove wrong. To an extent, I mean, obviously, if you have a conscience, it's wrong. Mm-hmm. But if you don't think for yourself, it's this imaginary product. Well, give us your 10% of your checks. I know, you guys are on welfare and you have food stamps and you're living off the bishop's warehouse and you don't have a lot of money. But give us 10%, and I promise, in this afterlife, it's gonna be wicked cool. You're gonna get this fucking planet, and you're gonna have all these girls that you can have sex with.
It's all about fucking real estate in the next life. It's all about real estate.
Yeah, you get this planet.
But you think about people in the 1800s. Like, their version of heaven is going to be, farmlands and, 17 wives. Mine's going to be, fucking iPhones and a goddamn Jeep.
Yep.
And it's like nobody has the same interpretation of heaven. If I had my mom's interpretation of heaven, I would be in hell. It would suck ass. Yeah. Let's be honest.
I'll tell you what, if heaven is being with your family members I can't say I hate my direct family, but there's a lot of family. If I had to be with them for the rest of eternity of all time.
Just them?
Blow my brains. Blow my fucking... I will be in heaven. I'll be in fucking hell. Whatever. And that's the funny thing is I don't believe...
It's a state of mind. How's the state of mind?
It's now. Your heaven and hell are right now. Exactly. When people are saying it's this afterlife, bull fucking shit. You end, there's no coming back. You can't get any more of that money that you already put in your 10% or whatever. Your heaven and hell are right now. If I leave my wife today and I say, fuck my kid, he doesn't need a father, and I go to Las Vegas, I blow all my money, I lose it in gambling, I have some mafia fuck guys after me, I end up hitting up meth and cocaine and live under the streets, and I sit there on the whatever panhandling for money, that's fucking hell. Because every day I have to be reminded about the stupid mistakes and the stupidity that I did and I made. Or I could be in heaven, whereas then I could just be happy, be content, be me, do the best I can, try to have fun, try to enjoy it. When a friend offers you something, think about it. All right, I'll do it. Let's go. And then you go. You explain and you have a great time in your life. And I just think it's sad that so many fucks...
We can do no wrong.
We'll never have it. No, because
heaven, no wrong. Like,
right and wrong is made up. It's all made up.
We're just learning.
We choose. Who's to say? Again, I'm not saying that what Hitler did was correct or right by any means. But what I'm saying is, who's to say that murder by anyone is right or it's wrong? We made that up. We say, well, I don't want to die. He doesn't want to die. Okay, let's... So consciously, as an ape, and that's the funny thing, when we were talking about anxiety earlier, the reason that humans feel anxiety so right now, again, I believe in evolution, that we've evolved so fast that when we were... back then we were living when saber-toothed tigers and woolly mammoths, and you had to eat, you have to kill for your food. It's all this natural instincts that we've evolved so goddamn fast that we haven't that our anxiety and our levels and certain, haven't even calmed down or caught up to this. I'm in a pretty relaxed life. Like, I don't have to wake up every morning knowing where the hell am I going to eat my food, who do I have to hunt, what's going to kill my son and drag my kid off into the desert. I've got to, kill a woolly mammoth to survive with my tribe. What if we freeze out? What if I'm not warm enough? What if my new baby dies? What if my wife / my baby? Or we run out of corn and we're frozen and we can't grow it for next year. You're fucked. That's anxiety. You can have and when you're sitting here in a goddamn cubicle and going, I need that paper by 2, and you're having that same anxiety. It's flushed because we haven't caught up to our anxiety level.
And there are personality theorists like these days, like modern day personality theorists, that it's called self-actualizing. Like, it's a beautiful thing to have to worry about, like, I'm not where exactly I want to be in my job. I want to move to the next level, or complain like, we don't have the nicest couch in our house, because you have focused on all your basic needs, like your food, your shelter, being with someone you love, how you're making money and all that you can focus on basically petty bullshit. And it really is a beautiful thing to be able to complain about that type of stuff, because if you're complaining about oh my god, I don't know where I'm gonna work, or we don't know where we're getting our next paycheck, or where the food is coming from in a month because it's almost out, that is, you're not able to be a whole person and really focus on yourself and develop a complete sense of self. And that's the beauty of living in our modern day world, is that we're able to create that for ourselves, is self-actualize.
It's hot as hell in here. Are you hot?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Here, I'm gonna open up the door real quick.
Perfect.
Oh, Jesus Louise. I thought I was just
It's getting hot in here, so take off all your clothes.
Okay, so going on. No, I agree, man. Anxiety is it's complete. It's just we haven't caught up to our evolved bodies. In fact, there's a good Sex at Dawn, that book right there. I learned about sexuality just within us, what we are, how we, what the book is about.
Natural.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, so I go to the dog park, right? Probably every Sunday, Saturday, we'll take our dog to the dog park. There will always be that one goddamn dog that has to hump everyone's dog. It's usually a husky for some reason. I kid you not.
That's the kind of dogs I have.
Yeah. They always will just go up and start humping either another husky or the biggest Great Dane there. And everyone's just like, oh no, stop it. Oh no, I just sit there and laugh. I'm like, it's fucking normal. This is what a dog does. This is that's its natural instincts. I get it if you don't want to impregnate your dog or whatever. But I think and the funny thing is, even a dog that has its nuts chops like ours, it will still hump. It will still try to whatever. And I think it's just so interesting that the second we talk about ourself, our own human species that are evolved from apes and bonobos, which the book's about, is there's a specific species called a bonobo. And that's what we're kind of mainly evolved from. That's the species of apes, that we're kind of we've evolved years after years, and of course it's taken thousands, maybe millions of years for us to get to this age. But that just there's only one. I want to say it is a bonobo, but out of all the species of ape / monkey, whatever you want to call it, primate, there's only one species of primate that actually stays with one partner. That naturally in life, and again, this book kind of tells you how to deal with it, that we are in this monogamous relationship in this world, that, and mainly, let's be honest, it's because of religion, that a big part of it is just one man, one woman, you get in it, and you just kind of live your life, and that's what you got to do. But naturally, as instincts and a lot of Neanderthal groups and relationships, and people were in giant groups, where the men would just fuck whoever the women, and the women would fuck whoever the men, and they would, as long as all the food was met, everyone would have kids.
Did they find that they were happier? Or?
Yeah, oh yeah. And the groups of men would, and whoever the babies had, the women would have kids, and no one would know who the father was or whatever, and they would all raise it as if it was their own. So they would all become a member of the tribe, that these small little tribes of 10, 20, 30 would, in African people still, a lot of African tribes and people still do this today. As that just happens. They have sex, but they have sex. Okay, so a new boy comes out or a new girl, they raise it as if it was their own, and it just kind of is an equal mutualship. Or mutual,
like it takes a village to raise a child.
Sure, yeah. Everyone does it. No one's just. The mom is kind of the main mom-ish for the first part, but after that, they all teach all things, and every dad acts as if that was my child, and that's how we act, and that's how monkeys are today. And gorillas, there's that male, the big silverback gorilla or whatever. That's always in charge, the alpha male, as you want to call it. And they're always in charge of kind of the whole group and stuff. But he's not the only one that kind of fucks around and gets everyone pregnant. It's just they take care of each other. And the book is very interesting because it just goes into who we are and how we became monogamous. But technically, we're really not.
Really?
That why
but
Bill
how the
Clinton
fuck did we develop into this?
Because of religion. Because religions came around and kind of came and said that this is how it should be. That God only approves of one and one. But that naturally, you may be married or you may be in a relationship, and you'll still look at another human being or another chimp or bonobo or whatever you want to call it, and say touch. Exactly, in your head, and that's how it is. And so the book kind of teaches you how to cope with it, how to kind of deal with it, but mainly it's the science and the studies all behind the fact that at the dawn of man, hence Sex at Dawn, the book, at the dawn of man, how life was in these many tribes and these things, that how they would raise their young and how they would treat them and how sex was, and that when as the pagans even went, that's why Christianity made huge changes from it, because paganism was all about sex, sexuality, being free, being open, enjoying yourself, loving yourself, having sex, pleasure. And Christianity went to the exact opposite. Oh, well, God only wants you to have one, and this, and it's have kids and pretty much join more members. And the Mormons are all about that. You have kids, fucking bring them on, because all that is more 10% payers into the MLM.
Think about the way life is, though. Like, there is going to be overpopulation if we keep trying to multiply and replenish the earth. Like, you look at China and the way they've had to do things, because the world is so fucking overpopulated.
It's a joke.
Yeah.
And same with, in fact, in Japan, they're actually having a hard time, men even hooking up with women. They're having a hard time even because they would rather hook up with a fake or a futuristic or robotic doll or these fake online things than actually having a real relationship with a real woman. And so they're trying to they're thinking of all these things in these ways, but men over there would rather have this fake or futuristic or computer doll or relationship with this fake thing than the real deal. And so they're having a hard time actually getting Japan's up, which is funny.
Their population?
Because it's slowly starting to die, and lots of kids, and dating and stuff is really, really scarce over there. And in China, exactly, they were killing off of all the daughters and stuff for a long, long time.
And now they're finding that there's way more males than there are women.
So they're having a hard time for the men to trying to find another partner or wife to then create more. Because there's so overpopulation of the man.
Absolutely.
So it's really
my thing is because I love the outdoors, and that is where I find a sense of peace and everything like that. I'm worried that the more we overpopulate here, that national parks are going to be overrun, like the deserts. You know, people aren't going to appreciate it, and that's what worries me. That's why, like, I hold back on, like, wanting to have children, is because, like, there are so many beautiful places, and as the more and more we reproduce everyone, that these places aren't going to be left for us. And, like, these are where people, like, these places are amazing, and if we continue to have more and more children, like, they're going to have to be used up and be gone. Oh,
where's that coming from? Sorry, guys.
Mikkel.
Someone outside. Is it Mikkel or is it outside? I think it's where it's... Yeah, it's outside.
Okay.
Okay,
like,
sorry.
Partying.
Okay. Anyways,
Yeah,
no,
totally
I think
was
that it's really interesting. You know, I don't know the exact populations, whatever. I know we have like 7 billion on the world and stuff, but it's very interesting about all that stuff and just sexuality and how people are so, especially within religions, any religion, how sexuality is almost looked cruel or disgusting or it's vile or whatever you want to call it, but at the end of the day, it's actually a naturally beautiful. It's fucking really in your instincts that just you fuck, you get it, you have sex, and that's completely normal for you to experience and to also enjoy his pleasure. You know, no one laughs and looks at I mean, they may laugh, but you're seeing 2 horses have sex or 2 bulls or 2 dogs, people breed them. But the second it comes to us, we're like, oh no. That's naughty behavior. No. Because you may enjoy sex, and holy shit, oh, God forbid that you enjoy sex.
But everybody does it. Everybody wants it. And
and then everyone pretends that they don't want it, and it's so silly that...
we create sexual anorexics by saying that it's so bad. Like, religion has, like, the highest percentage of sexual anorexics because they're so obsessed with other people having sex, but they won't do it. They're like, oh,
or it's cruel.
Oh, my God, that's fucking terrible. That, you know, this and this, it's so bad. But they're obsessed with it at the same time, and it becomes unhealthy.
Sure.
And religion creates that.
Absolutely. And there's nothing more beautiful to just being you and not having to feel judged, not having to feel that there is a hell that you actually may end up going to or any sort of that. I just think it's interesting that, you know, sex is sex and it is what it is. And, you know, it's you who decides if that is a bad thing or a good thing.
Yep.
God, if there was a God,
personal.
Then that means that these dogs that are just fucking, they would be going to hell. That means that these people without marriage or these, you know, it's all made up by us. It's just another legal agreement to simply say, okay, look, if you break up with me, I'll take half your fucking shit, and I'm going to hate you for the rest of your life. I'm going to talk shit on you to my next husband or my next relationship, and that's how we're going to go. That's it. That's what marriage is. To an extent, you can make it what you want, but a lot of people nowadays, I think it's really interesting because, yeah, my wife and I, we have fights and we've had, but what relationship has not had a disagreement? Because it's 2 people coming together and saying, okay, let's discuss this one topic. I come from this, I was raised like this is, and then all of the, you know, I'm the exact opposite, and then we come together and we have to meet a mutual point. But so many people are quitting nowadays. They get married and they fall in love, especially with religion. It's so easy that, especially with Mormons, man. Can you imagine a movie? Okay, and this happens so often. I can tell you, I have a friend, in fact, he got married. They never had sex pre-marriage. They got married.
How do you know if they suck in bed or not? Like,
bingo. She didn't want to have sex unless they were trying for kids. They were married 2 years. They had sex, and I could count on one hand the times that they had sex. They finally had 1 kid. Later on, the poor guy had to go. I mean, No, I stand behind him. He went and cheated. He had to get some sex out. He had to experience something.
Because
he cheated, yeah, because she only wanted to have sex that they were going to try for a child. Never a pleasure sex. It was bad. It was whatever. So he did, and they got a divorce, and then, anyways, later, whatever. I don't know what happened. But the fact of it is you may know who you're marrying, but live with a goddamn person you're going to marry. In fact, I have a cool statistic that I'm going to hurry and read if I can find it. But all about that. And I lived with my wife for a whole year and about a half before we got married. It was the best thing I ever did because I learned so much. We learned both about each other. I know how she acted. I know how she did.
And this is what I want to say to everybody. Like, your happiness does not depend on another person. It depends solely on you. And you cannot look for another person to fill that void, regardless of, you know, what you want out of life. It comes from within you. And if you're looking for somebody else to fill that void, you're always going to end up disappointed. Exactly. Like, be you, do whatever makes you happy. And then if somebody else, you know, adds to that happiness, let them in your life, you know? but don't expect another person to fill that void, because you will always end up disappointed.
Fuck, I don't know if I have it. I'm trying to find it, but pretty much it was a really interesting statistic that just said X amount of people who do not live with their partner for 1 year pre-marriage, the divorce rate is extremely fucking high. I can't remember the exact.
I have cousins that are Mormon. I remember one of their bridal showers, one of them looked at me and goes, "We haven't even had our first fight yet." And I was like, oh my God.
You're fucked.
Yeah, I was like, how do you know? You don't know this person. You don't know them.
Yep, you had your first fight. And most marriages, seriously, I swear, happen with like 3 months. Of they date, they meet, they get a ringer, and then they are married out within 3-4 months. We wanted to wait a whole year for a lot of reasons. I wanted to wait. I wanted to make sure I was getting it right. I'm like, this would be good, but I gotta know the good, the bad, the ugly. What if I'm getting into? It's really interesting. All that stuff. Marriage is a funky thing. And you know what? If you don't end up getting married and you just hang out with each other, at the end of the day is exactly... What were you talking about? You were talking also about, like, mixing and mingling. They have traits, you have traits. But what were we just barely talking about before pre-fight? Like, we've never had a fight. There was something else you were talking about. Marriage, yeah. Anyways, it's an interesting thing. It can be really fun if you get it right.
I am not ready for marriage. I probably won't be ready for another like.
I never. And here's the funny thing: it usually comes when you're never looking for it, and don't look for it. That's the thing: is don't be looking for it. Enjoy your life. Keep doing your thing, and when that person or whatever may come along, and then you guys hook up, and you're like, oh, cool, okay, yeah, you're my partner.
Deal.
You have these goals. You got goals. Let's go do something fun.
Real deal, right here.
Yeah, exactly. And you'll just come and stuff. But marriage is really fun and really interesting. And you just have to learn to again be partners. You have to work together to accomplish all kinds of fun goals and just to better yourself. That's the best part. I take Mikkel out of the real world when she gets too sucked into reality, and then when I get too out of sub-reality, she'll bring me right back into this real world.
You guys are completely
and it works really perfect.
Complement each other 100% well. Two of my best friends are also married. Leah and Dustin. Sorry.
Yeah.
They're, but, Dustin is more quiet, more focused, and he, brings Leah down because she's more ridiculous and outgoing and, crazy, and they complement each other so 100% well, and yet they both love the outdoors, and they're both amazing people and love to have fun, and that's really what I found that it is. You just have to find people that complement you. And
absolutely. You have to find kind of the exact opposite within similarities.
Totally.
But there's no right way and there's no wrong way. Again, marriage isn't really natural for us humans. But if you are going to do it, then find someone right that you're just going to hang the fuck out. Yeah. You have a good old time. You don't fight. You don't beat the shit out of each other. You don't go crazy. You don't fucking... Because that's hell. Don't cut yourself a loss and just be alone. But again, I do feel for those that maybe never have the chance of having a real relationship. And again, you could have a real relationship without the word marriage and doing the whole white dress, this dress. It's just all what tradition, if you want to call it that. But at the end of the day, I feel for people that can't find a certain relationship where they just this is it. Fuck yeah. I feel comfortable to fart around this person and shit or whatever I gotta do, and then I feel comfortable to do all kinds of stuff for this person. But I would go out of my way to do.
Like I said before, sometimes, you found it at 21 really early, and some of us it takes till we're 40 or 50 to find that person.
Sure.
That's okay.
Sure. Yep.
So just do what you want to do.
The key is sex drive. No, it isn't. But you have to have sex pre-marriage, you guys. Otherwise you don't know what you're getting into. And say it's very dissatisfying and you're very upset. It's not as... I guess if you never had sex and never had sex, you wouldn't fucking know. But poor you to find out that there is
sex is way too
billions and times better.
Not do it before marriage.
Yeah. It is it's a fantastic thing, but it's completely natural of a human being to go and experience the sex and to do it. Sexuality is quite normal. It's so funny that men or women, you guys don't get. Here's a weird question. Men get aroused off of boobs, right? Mm-hmm. Just a larger. Not breast, but it doesn't matter about what, but just the fact that there is a bump on a woman's chest that hence I can look at myself in the mirror and I have nipples, and I have a body, and the fact that yours are a little bit more fatter, that I'm like, oh God, I gotta see these boobs. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, why? I don't know. It's got to be a chemical reason. I don't know if that comes from when we're babies and we're nursing, and I don't know where it comes from. The boob fascination.
Like certain things turn guys on, and certain things turn girls on. It's weird. It is interesting, like what turns who on, and who turns what on.
Sure. Yeah, it's really fucking interesting. And here's the funny thing too, though. I could be attracted to you, but if I see someone else at like 7-Eleven who maybe it's a 7-Eleven worker and she just is not, whatever, but she has the exact same body parts as you,
totally.
And over there, I cannot be attracted to this human being, even though if I go down a checklist, okay, boobs, yeah, well, they have boobs, they have eyes, and they have toes, and an ass, and they have a vagina, and but it comes down to a lot of other shit before what is attractive and what's not attractive.
And like the same beauty is in the eye of the beholder, it's totally fucking true. Like, absolutely. And everyone deserves love, everyone deserves the best, and you gotta find what fits you. That's just all it is. There's no set way of how to live life. And people that try and define these rules, I don't understand. There's so many diverse people, so many
and
different
there's no
scenarios.
fucking rules. If you set up a rule, it's a joke.
There's no way that you can say one way is the correct way. It's just not realistic for anyone.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's always learning. That's all life is about, And again, Robin Williams, we're talking about him. He just passed away today. It's just so crazy to think that these people that you'd never, I've met them once, but I didn't really, and people, it doesn't matter if you've met them or seen them or whatever, but you've seen movies, yeah. Totally. And what made a man who everyone thinks, okay, he's got money, definitely. He's got the fame. Everyone knows who he is. He's got a wife. I'm sure he has a house. He's funny. Everyone likes him. If they were to go out to dinner, he's the funny guy. He's got this. What made a single human being? Was it a chemical breakdown? Was it lower chemicals of dopamine and serotonin? What was it that made a man decide,
with his
good night, I'm out. Yeah. I'm done. This is it. I've had it. There's no other way out for me, and stuff. And it makes me sad, but it also makes me wonder.
And also, as humans, I feel like we all have those thoughts. What if I ended my life here? Or, this is fucking awesome. We all have those thoughts. And, what causes a person to act on those thoughts and be like, no, this is it. I'm fucking done. I can't handle it.
I think a lot of it's chemicals. A chemical breakdown, your body could be missing a lot of stuff. I think, if you're depressed, you're missing a lot of the serotonin, a lot of dopamine, a lot of just happiness or overall outlook and joy in life. Waking up in the morning becomes a drag. And the funny thing about him is he didn't have a 9 to 5 that he has to go show up every morning, sit on the computer, do telecommunications, sales jobs, making $8.50 an hour, all these things. So it really makes me wonder. It would be an interesting study to tell between committing suicide of someone who did work an $8.50 an hour job, sad, works 9 to 5 every day, compared to someone who has everything in the world and still wants to end it.
Or somebody that even has completely
Where
nothing.
Were they at?
Totally.
Sure, yeah. And that's a funny thing, though.
I think it comes down to is happiness is a choice and so is suffering.
Yeah. If you look on the scale of, I can't remember the exact, I want to say United States is number 17 in the happiness scale of the world, the happiest countries in the world. We are fucking behind Mexico. Mexico is higher than us. So what does that tell you? And another thing is interesting. If you ever go on cruises or vacations to a third world or any an outside country, Canada. I mean, if you go to Canada, just across the border, we're on the same goddamn continent. Yeah. If you go over there, it's completely different. Those people are happy. They're smiling. They have full-on health care. What is so fucking different about them that they don't murder each other? They don't have guns, that they kill each other. I mean, you could live your entire life and never hear about anyone in Canada, in your own state, city, whatever. Or I guess, what is it called?
They all take out their anger in hockey, let's be real.
Yeah, fucking beat the shit. Hockey's for real.
They beat the shit out of each other in
hockey is a man's sport. But that's the thing, is they just... and there's an interesting documentary called Fahrenheit 9/11, if you've never seen it, all about that. That they talk about Bowling for Columbine is what it's called, but the other one's a good one too. Bowling for Columbine is all about how Columbine, and do you know Columbine, Colorado and stuff, the shooting and stuff like that. So the study, it was kind of this documentary / study, he went to Columbine, was kind of asking questions, why, what led up to these kids, what were they doing before they decided, fuck it, we're going to kill everyone and then kill ourselves. What led to that extent and stuff. And it seemed like a lot of bullying. It seemed like a lot of bullshit. Parents and people tried to blame it on Marilyn Manson, that it was him, that his music made him do it. And they call it bullying for Columbine because before they went to the school to go shoot it up, they had a bowling class that they went to first. They went bowling before they went to the school and shot up everybody. And so anyways, it's an interesting documentary, but then they also go over to Canada and was wondering like, okay, here's America. There's a lot of school shootings and deaths and even young kids who end up killing people. So they drive up to Canada and start doing some stuff over there, and nobody locks their goddamn doors in Canada. I'm half Canadian. My entire side family is all Canadian up in White Rock and Vancouver, and they don't really lock the doors up there. They're not scared. You could live your entire life and never hear about anyone ever being shot in Vancouver. Vancouver is a huge city, larger than Salt Lake City, these things, but never hear about anyone ever being shot or murdered or killed or if they have a thing. No. And you can walk. And so they were like, "Is this for real?" So they started just opening people's doors, like on the documentary. They just tried seeing if it's real, like go up to doors, and sure enough, they're open. Like, "Oh, sorry," and they're just like, "Oh no," they had no issue with it. They're like, "Oh, okay, that's cool." So
it's interesting.
So it's a great documentary. Again, you can edit it to make it how you want, but at the end of the day, the documentary is really interesting.
There are these things called SSRIs, which stands for selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. One of my professors at college is a nutritionist, and she explains it way better than I ever could right here. I need my fucking book. I took notes, whatever.
Yeah.
But she explains that there are 5 different types of SSRIs that you can have, and how different people react to them differently. And some of them have caused school shootings because their body reacts to it differently than what is considered normal. But there's a certain test that you can take to test a client or a patient that you have to see how their body will react to it.
Really?
And what type of medicine you should give them. And most of the people that have done school shootings have had the wrong SSRI given to them, and that is what contributes because it throws their chemical imbalances off. And
I remember
she could explain it way better than I could. I wish I fucking knew so I could look. I wish I had my book in front of me so I could look it up. But proven fact that
absolutely. I think everything comes down to a funny thing about women, right? When they have a baby, there's this one part, so they'll have this baby, but it all comes into it chemically that there's this point where the moms will come to where they almost don't want anything to do with the baby. There's this weird, it's a chemical reaction, this thing, they'll have the baby in this thing, and they'll love it, and then some moms, I'm not saying 100% of moms, but there's some moms that will just completely want nothing to do with the baby, and some have killed them in the past, but some have also just I don't want him. Put it up for a dog. I don't it, and it's their brain switching over certain chemicals and things, saying just pretty much, I don't want it. And it's completely normal, but it comes down to chemicals and happiness and joy, ecstasy. MDMA. If people do, or Molly, these things. When you do that, you have these different lovey-dovey. You're excited. You see life is different. You hug your friends that maybe you never hug, and you tell them and you exaggerate on how much you love them, how much they mean to you.
Normally act.
Yeah, exactly. And it can fix some people. Ayahuasca or what is it called? DMT does a lot of the same things, but almost permanently. It's almost it cures about 99.8% of heroin addicts. Ayahuasca ceremonies and these things. It's a plant. You just mix it up. 99.8%.
Is it given at treatment centers?
No. It's completely illegal in the U.S. But if you go to Peru or go to certain places, it's just a plant and it's DMT. And DMT is it's called dimethyltryptamine, and it's Okay, you ever have dreams where they're so real that you wake up for a minute and you're like, did that happen?
Yeah,
or maybe, I don't know. Guys have sex dreams and we wake up and we have a hard dick and we're like, what the fuck? And you don't know why.
I think girls have those. They just don't have, the dick to prove it.
Yeah, hopefully. But they're so, these dreams are so realistic, so real that in the moment, you have names, you have faces, you're talking, you're moving, and you can feel them. And anyways, dimethyltryptamine or DMT is in your brain, and it's produced in your what gland is it? in fact, it looks like the eye of Horus, which is pretty interesting from the Egyptians. It's called a pineal gland. It looks like the eye of Horus, so like this, and it has this curly thing and this, and Egyptians were all about that with brains. They'd pull brains out of the nose of humans when they were mummifying and stuff. So I don't know how that comes into play. But anyways, that's where your DMT is. And the interesting thing about DMT is it's only released in dreaming mode. So when you fall asleep and you're finally getting that theta or again alpha when we were talking this morning, or at the first of the podcast, that it drips down your spine, kind of like ecstasy. If you take ecstasy, what it does is it drips down your spine. In fact, I have a certain story about a certain person close to me who did ecstasy once, and then it completely ended, and then 2 weeks later went to the chiropractor, cracked her back, and it kicked right back in because it was all in her. It was within the spinal cord, and she went back to work on fucking ecstasy. But it was 3 weeks later after this, but it snapped back in, and because it drains from the spinal cord throughout the body. And so DMT kind of does the same thing. It kind of just makes these dreams, and it's only little drops. I mean, just the smallest ounces of it. But they've also found that at death, and why so many people have realistic or ending life experiences, so they say they see the tunnel and their family and their friends at death, and they come back to life. DMT, or the pineal gland, at death releases... Okay, so DMT is a root called ayahuasca or whatever, and you can make it as a drink, or it's all like in the Amazon and stuff. And if you were to take it, grind it up, and you could smoke it, it'll last 5 minutes physically here on Earth, but in your head, hours. Like, you think you're gone for hours. It's that realistic. Somewhat it's like you're living a dream, but you remember. Absolutely. Okay. Your eyes go, and you're seeing, like, a certain friend of ours, started with JS, he was on the moon talking with Mother Nature, having all these crazy experiences, talking and going through the Amazon and spiritual experiences. Very interesting stuff, but very real. It was all real in the brain, like a dream that he remembers. Very short-lived, but it seemed like a long time. But again, physically was in, out, but in the brain was forever. Okay. It just lasted forever. And so at death, the funny thing is realistically, physically, it releases, I think it's like 75 hours worth of DMT into your brain as you die. It drains into your brain saying, hey, oh, yeah, okay, Holly's kicking the can. She's done. This is the end. She's dying. This is going to be the absolute most depressing moment of Holly's life. Okay, yeah, we better drain this shit. So it releases it, which makes you go into la la land, this dream of whatever. And then, again, who knows how long or whatever. But if it releases 75 hours physically here on Earth, how long does that physically last in the brain or death or whatever? Again, death is the heartbeat stopping, your brain dead. But who's to say? I'm not saying physically you go anywhere, your spirit or your energy, but something's going on where the DMT is getting that released to the point maybe where it ends or slowly fades or whatever. But that's why a lot of people, when they're like short-term death or they're totally, they see their family, their friends. It's just like a dream, though. I've seen Holly in my dreams. I've seen my wife and my friends and my dog, and I've had crazy experiences, and I've done all this stuff. But it felt so real at the time in my head when I was, and then I wake up and oh, silly dream. Okay, that never happened.
It's a temporary form. Dreams are a temporary form of psychosis. Like, they're completely harmless, and yet it seems like 100% real. And your, subconscious is working through things that, your conscious has experienced. And who's to say that it's not another form of reality? Like, it's completely real in the moment. It's harmless because, you're really not doing anything, but it's 100% real in the moment.
And again, no one can say what reality is. Is reality really? Are we alive right now? Or are we technically in the dream state? Totally. And when we're in dreaming, is that our real life? Like, are we really living there?
Exactly. And when we fall asleep, like, who's to say exactly when we fall asleep, and who's to say exactly when we wake up? It's like a temporary form of dying every night.
Absolutely.
And like, we never know when we wake up exactly from it, and we never know exactly when we go into it. And it's a total form of reality when we are dreaming and we're working through. Who's to say that it isn't fucking real what we're doing when we're dreaming? Absolutely. It's a harmless form of psychosis, which we give a lot of people shit for in the mental institutes who have like these manic or psychotic episodes. It's so interesting.
Sure. Yeah, I've worked with a lot of people, and maybe you have or whatever, that have these really mental issues. in looking back, you were like, okay, exorcism movies are fun and all. Like, I remember when we were hanging out, like, some of the first times I ever met you, we were sleeping over. We watched those exorcism movies all the time because they were great. And the funny thing about exorcisms are, if we're living back, like, say, King Arthur's times, there's castles, there's shit, whatever, and someone has schizophrenia who sees things, hears voices, talks to people, has all these crazy things, and maybe they were raised in a very religious lifestyle, and then it starts kicking in slowly into their lower lives, or maybe it's always had it, and then they, at an older age, they start really going crazy, and they're talking to the devil, and blah, 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 and speaking weird gibberish words, and start drawing, the devil's face, and Pentecost, and these, devil stars, or all this crazy shit. Back then, if I'm a king, or not any of that, if I'm back then in the medieval ages, I'm going to say, all right, there's a demon in this guy, because you're this normal person, then 1 week later you're this next fucking, because you're having this episode, this whole psychotic, schizophrenic, you're seeing shit, you're talking to shit, whatever, that's not real, but to everyone else, the devil got a hold of you. Well, of course the devil, he's got a demon in him, and the demon is this, and it does this. But nowadays, I've dealt with certain individuals and certain people that have had those episodes and those things, saying the exact same thing. They're talking to the devils, and the little ghost in my room, and she's a little girl, and she's drawing this, and in the backyard, he's picking out grass patches of pure green grass, and then saying, "Do you see it? That's the devil's face," and saying all this crazy, crazy shit. At the end of the day, no. There's no fucking devil in him. He's not. It's not a demon. There's no exorcist. There's no. There's a devil in him. Yeah, no. It's back then. They had a mental disorder. They didn't know what to call it. They didn't know what was going on. No fucking duh. They call it that. Oh, the devil's inside you. Nowadays, we know what it is. There's medicine to help it. There's also, we know what to characterize it as. There's medicine. It's just evolved. And I just think it's so silly that people still claim that shit.
Like, bring them back to, what's considered reality.
Sure. And I've talked to so many missionaries or people that have come, I'm like, so how was your mission, man? Well, we had to cast a devil out of someone. There was a demon in this lady, and she was speaking in tongues and this. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, cool, man. But at the end of the day, I'm like, no, you fucking didn't. She was schizophrenic. You don't know the background story. You don't know her medical history. You don't know who she is.
History.
You
There's
just popped up. Someone said,
factors.
come. If she's really Catholic or they're Mormon, they're saying, hey, man,
and
we need
there's
help.
so many contributing factors to the way, what makes someone the way they are, why they react to certain things the way they do. And you can't say that you can't put it on one thing. There's so many different things, like family, drugs.
Sure, makes you do some crazy shit.
Yeah, there's so many different factors that
I was thinking so much about, the Book of Mormon and the good Lord Jesus. We casted it out. No, you didn't. I just think it's so silly.
Yeah.
I don't know. The funny thing is religion with the internet has slowly been killed at every instinct. Whether there was that quick video that someone could see, you know what? That does make sense. Why Jesus could be the North Star? Maybe it was just astrological because the pagans were trying to make sense of the stars. And if we were 3,000 years from now, if the only book that ever survived if there was an atomic bomb was the Lord of the Rings. 3,000 years now, everyone would be worshiping Frodo and Gandalf.
Really?
Did you guys read this verse? You mean this goddamn chapter about fucking Frodo and Gandalf and how they got a ring, and everyone would have to get the ring, and everyone needs to worship Smeagol, and
really, it's just a fantasy story.
But at the end, exactly. And who's to say that hasn't happened here? But also, you just look at it.
So many people believe that Joseph Smith found what the fuck is called the Urim and Thummim, and translated all these crazy motherfucking stories.
And if he did, say he did, which he didn't. Of course. The three witnesses that supposedly say that they wrote, was it Oliver Cowdery? There was some other, I can't remember the other two. But
most of them left, though. Most of the other witnesses left because they were like...
They felt bad. They were con men. They were trying to make money, and they were out.
No way.
And the funny thing is supposedly, Noah and all these people came to him, and Adam came to him and gave these three witnesses the priesthood and all that. I'm sorry, I don't care who you are. If a goddamn angel comes in my room today and says, Christian, it's all real, man. Here's the deal. I'm going to give you the priesthood. You would never be scared. You would never doubt it. You would never leave that.
Leave.
Because you physically saw something. It's like, what? if 3 of them, okay, this guy's... Plus, he's been arrested.
All 12 of them left.
Yep.
That's what it says in, like, the Pearl of Great Price, whatever the fuck it's called. All 12 of them left.
Yep, and they were writing
That's
stuff. And it's funny, too, because it's like, okay, show us the golden, tablet. Well... this guy Moroni took him. He's got him.
And he was behind a wall. Like, we couldn't see it. We weren't good enough.
Yeah. We have to put the... And then he's looking through the hat and the stone. And back then, even black magic was huge. Everyone was looking treasure hunting in New York and all this stuff. It was a huge thing. This black magic, if you want to call it that, or whatever. It was everyone was into this occult witch art. So it was quite a big thing. He got arrested for. In fact, there's you can look it up. There's handwritten notes from Joseph Smith simply admitting that he, all humans, we all make mistakes or whatever. But what he would do is he'd go to farmhouses in Palmyra and go and write and knock on the doors and say, "Hey, an angel came to me and I've been doing some seer stones, these 2 rocks," that he puts in a black hat, sticks his face in. And he says, "Oh, you know what? Yeah, they told me there's some gold in your property. If you pay me $10,000 whatever dollars, or even lower, $1,000, I'll go get it for you. I'll dig it out. I'll get it for you, and you can have it, and I'll take the money you pay me up front." Sure enough, he'll go out there for a day, start digging. The next day, gone. Where the fuck is Joseph Smith? He's gone. Until he hit up 6-7 houses, he finally got arrested for it. Yeah, he's a con man. But if you read that, that never happened. Bullshit, there's fucking signatures of Joseph Smith. If you even look up, most 90% of Mormons have never seen a photo of Joseph Smith. The second, have you ever seen him? It's the creepiest, weirdest feeling I've ever seen. I'm like, that guy is not the guy that everyone paints the photo of.
Exactly.
He's not that guy's a creeper. That guy's the guy who is and he got caught. The reason he got...
No one's allowed to look it up. No one's allowed to know because...
It's the stupidest thing. If anyone ever in your life tells you never look up the opposite side, get the fuck out. Get out.
Just look it up. Even your parents tell you that with, like, drugs or anything. Like... Why are we not told to question more shit?
Yep. And look at the other side. Look why. Always. Don't be a fucking... Man, I can't wait. It's so interesting to me. And it's so interesting because constantly religions are going down. I don't care what religion it is. They're just slowly dying and dying and dying. It's because of the internet. And you want to know why? Because if I ever wanted to learn a book about Mormonism, ex-Mormonism, or anti-Mormonism, you had to go find a library. And good luck finding a library here in Utah that owned that book. Yeah. So you have to, good luck finding it. And there probably were no books at the time. And so, sure enough, you finally find someone that has contact. Oh, that person's a crazy person. Don't listen to so-and-so. And then you'd have to read a book. Now, you can watch a video. You can see artifacts. You can see signatures. You can go up to Salt Lake. You can get an entire book that was scanned by her name is Sandra Tanner. She's a direct descendant of Brigham Young. And she has all the paperwork from the church that has never been released. But she scanned all the paperwork and prints them. And she has the whole book that the church never wants to release. And it's Joseph Smith Journals, Emma Smith, and Mitty, and all these crazy things, and how my husband is sleeping with her best friend, which was the maid at the time, and Emma was not okay with that. Everyone plays off that Emma, she was such a crazy... She had no fucking part of this. She was so sick of Joseph Smith by the end of the time. She was like, because he was fucking 14-year-olds, and that's why he got tarred and feathered. He got caught sleep with a 14-year-old, and then everyone looks at
absolutely.
What's
and
his
even
name?
The stories of just like the men, with their tobacco spitting and chewing, and she'd have to clean up after them. Like she was so, even in that aspect, was so fucking sick of it.
Yep.
No one should have to do that.
They brought slaves out here to Salt Lake, Utah. No one even knows that. Yeah. They had slaves help build the temple, and we're out here in Utah with them.
Wow.
But no one ever shows that or tells that.
No one's ever allowed to question it.
Yep. If they don't, and the thing is if they ask those people, of course they're going to say no because they don't even know. They've never even looked into it. So if you're asking the church or leader or whatever, and if they did know, so many stake presidents and bishops and people are leaving nowadays. It's crazy.
And you know what makes me mad is that we are led by the whole entire church. The head of it is all men, and they are allowed to tell us how many piercings you can have, no tattoos.
Don't show your sleeves.
Exactly. Yeah. Women, this is how you're supposed to live. What the fuck is so provocative about a shoulder, for the love of God?
Now they're telling men, by the way, not to get really buff and bulk up, not to wear tank tops. That's a new thing now that there's Satan out there.
And it's all men that are leading it, and that is one of the things that makes me so angry. It's like, why can't women say things? Because they're supposed to be at home with the family, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, no. We have great perspectives, from a completely different angle that we can offer, and yet all these men are telling us how to live their lives, and that's why I just can't do it.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And what really scares me is the fact that almost a Mormon was president. Like no one even questioned the fact that, all right, this guy believes that he's going to have wives in the next life, and then also he's going to own his own planet, and then also he believes in all this fake shit, and we're going to put this guy in charge of the world's strongest military and army, and he's that close and brainwashed about the whole God in the scenario, so that he may think that one day having a dream is, well, God told me to destroy Iran, better do it. That fucking nuts is insane. We need an atheist president. I'm sorry. We need someone who doesn't. Yeah. It's not going to go off that. It's simply going to judge the best of humanity.
Clinton, the lesbian president.
I'm all down for that. At this point, here's the deal. There's never going to be a good president. They're all.
It's all going to be trial and error. Everyone's going to try new things, and
also they're going to find out that quickly they're not really in charge. Yeah. It's everyone else who's in charge, and they're just the front man to simply deliver the bad
news.
They're
the one that everyone gets to hate on.
Sorry, no gay marriage, I guess. Marijuana, well, you can do it in these 2 states, but everyone else, sorry, fuck you.
The president has no real power in this country.
It's just a front man.
Yeah, they don't.
It's sad, but it is what it is, and. Anyways, but yeah, I think this is the end of our documentary podcast. I think this is it. We'll call it good. I'm burning up. I'm fucking.
Yeah, I'm great. Yeah, I'm good to go.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Simply, Cover and Vinyl. Go to coverandvinyl.com. Use the podcast promo code. Type in podcast and you save 20%. SaltCityFloatSpa.com. Go to there. And
Experiential Ed, Prescott College. Look it up.
Yeah.
If you're into that sort of thing.
Yeah, she went to college there. We'll have to have you back on and we'll talk about that stuff. I want to talk all about your college and your blackface experience. It'd be awesome.
So funny.
It's a very interesting thing. Watch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. No. It's a great show, you guys. It's great life. It's fucking enjoy it. Stop listening to people who tell you how to live your life. You're in charge of your own life. Make yourself happy. I promise you, by listening to other people and whatever, fuck them. You'll find new friends. You'll find new people.
We'll do it live.
We'll do it live. But that's it. Yeah, I mean, really, I don't know. You have any shout-outs? Thanks for Kim.
Shout out to Kim for listening.
Shaitan and Omar, thanks for commenting, you guys. Thanks for Holly for coming on.
Love life, everyone.
Yeah.
Go on adventures.
Amen. All right, that's it. Over and out, guys.
Folks, it ain't about that. It ain't about the guy who tries buying a clean car when you're dirty. It's not his fault. It's you should figure out how to be clean. You should figure out how to do a job that doesn't involve you walking in mud all day. And that's possible because somebody else has done it. I don't buy the idea that, the society the way it is right now, it has to be this way. Someone's always going to have to work at Burger King. Someone's always going to have to. I don't buy that. I think people are pretty fucking flexible. If you look at the broad spectrum of humans and human behavior from different cultures all over the world, it's pretty obvious to me that there's a lot of different ways that people can act. We don't have to have fast food workers. We don't have to have people who work shit jobs. We don't have to. We just need to figure out how to restructure society so everybody somehow or another plays a part, has something to contribute, has something to share. I mean, that's what a real society is supposed to be like. I give you some coconuts, you give me some fish. We make a deal, and you do it back and forth and left and right. And when there's nothing to contribute, then you start looking, the president needs to give us jobs. We need jobs. So instead of something to contribute, you just find something to do with your time. And then it becomes about doing that more than it becomes about finding something to contribute. So society gets wrapped around becoming a part of a machine. Society, instead of becoming a bunch of individuals that are expressing themselves in unique ways, and everybody sort of borrows and shares and sells this and you sell that, and we all sort of figure out how we can contribute in a society, we got sidetracked and diverted into these boxes that they call companies and corporations, and we got stuck into these containers that they call cubicles or offices, and we got forced into this system. So our time, instead of it being invested in making pottery or fixing cars or doing something where you have a passion or you have some sort of a connection to, instead of that, you've sold your life to sit in a box and work for a machine, an uncaring machine that demands productivity. It doesn't understand you. It doesn't want to understand you. It has a bunch of very strict things in order to keep the humor at a minimum in the office, just in case one of you fuckheads says some stupid sex jokes that gets them sued and they have to give somebody $1 million. So get it together, and this is your life now. No natural behavior. Everybody's wearing clothes they don't want to wear. Everybody's showing up and doing something they don't want to do. They have no connection to. That's the problem with our society. And then what's the reward for all this stuff? Go home, get a big TV. Go home, you're going to get a shiny belt buckle. You're going to get a nice purse. You're going to wear shoes that you couldn't afford last week. You're going to get that dream car. And every week we're chasing down this new object. And every week we're trying to fill this hole in this sad shadow of a life that we've been left with after work. That you work 8 to whatever hours a day plus commuting, and then you're like this. And that's your life. That's your real fucking life. All that other stuff is not your life anymore. All that other stuff is work. And most of us have committed to that. I know you've been there before, and I've been there before. And we understand that it's a trap because we got out of it. But for the people that are in it, a lot of times they don't even understand it's a trap. They just think it's a good job. They think they got dental. I'm doing really good. I got my own parking spots, got my name on it. And you're just a piece of a heartless, shitty machine that makes money.
But don't you think you have to go through all that just to figure out what you want to do? Because
no,
I think
I did, but I don't think you have to. Look, I did, but when I became a comedian when I was 21, I was 100% convinced that I was going to be a stand-up comedian for the rest of my life. Like, I didn't need to worry about what was next. I was like, this is what I'm doing. Like, I don't want to do anything else. Like, this is what I'm doing. Once I found it, I was good. All the jobs were just to feed myself while I was trying to make that work. But it's to get one and commit to it and have it become a part of your life becomes really problematic, because if you were a dirtbag like myself who drove limos and did construction and did all these, almost kind of temporary jobs that a lot of people drift in and out of, there's nothing expected of you. But if you get hired by a major corporation and become a big part of their program, like let's say you're also an animator and you get a gig. Like I have a friend who was an illustrator, and he was working for Nickelodeon, and he got fired, and he was panicking, and he was like, shit, I don't know what the fuck to do. He's like, I gotta figure out another job. So he started making paintings and selling his paintings. It was the greatest thing that's ever happened to him. Now his name's Todd White. He's a super successful artist. He makes like this kind of martini style, like cocktails from the like cocktail parties from the 1920s, like those cool kind of cartoonish martini glass things. He's got a real specific, distinctive style. It's really cool. But he's a great artist, and he's also a black belt in jiu-jitsu. I know him from John Jock Machado's. He's a great guy, but it was an opportunity for him to lose a job, and even a job that he loved as an illustrator. But I'm sure he'd much rather do what he wants to do and do what's going on in his mind.
That's cool stuff.
Oh, he's really cool. He's badass. And he's a great guy, too. Very cool guy.